Chapter 2081. Li Hui now had the mentality of a gambler. It was hard to get off the tiger. He thought that he had paid so much for this woman, but he didn't get anything. Moreover, as time passed, Li Hui became more and more eager to get something from Ning Shu. The failure this time made Li Hui very frustrated and also very irritated. Li Hui also realized that getting hold of this woman was a very profitable thing. Even if he couldn't get into high school, he could still have a good life. Now, Li Hui had a kind of mentality. Even if he couldn't get into high school, he had to leave a way out. This mentality was very different from before. Maybe he felt that he could have a good life even if he didn't get into high school. In other words, Ning Shu's feeding during this period of time had taken effect. She would think when she was full and warm. But to let Li Hui be a son-in-law, Li Hui would rather die. A man's dignity couldn't be insulted. Li Hui looked at the woman walking in front of him. She had a graceful figure and hair as black as ink. Walking in the mountain forest was very relaxed. Her steps were so relaxed that it was as if she was dancing. This woman was really beautiful and also like a fairy. It was just that people couldn't resist her. Li Hui caught up with Ning Shu and asked, "Wenhua, what do you think of me? I want to marry you. Do you want to marry me?" Ning Shu said, "My father." "Okay, I know what you mean. Basically, it was my father who said 4 words at the beginning, which was what he didn't want to hear." Ning Shu laughed in his heart. "Since you don't want to hear it, then forget it. But if you want to get money from her, that's impossible. Eat my food, use my things, spend my money. Even if you pass the exam, you still want to kill me and make me into a talisman. You take all the good things in the world." "I haven't finished speaking." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and said with a bit of displeasure, "Interrupting others, is this the etiquette of a gentleman? I know that uncle has a very important place in your heart, but do you know that your father is already dead? You haven't even lived half of your life. Are you going to guard the thoughts that your father instilled in you for the rest of your life? What's the most important thing for a woman? It's to have a man who loves and dotes on her. They respect each other and grow old together." Ning Shu nodded and asked, "Do you love me?" "Of course I love you. Otherwise, why would I want to marry you? If not for love, a union without love is painful." Ning Shu, wasn't everyone getting married in a blind marriage? What love was there to talk about? It was precisely because he felt that she was a woman from the deep mountains who did not understand the ways of the world that she deceived him. She understood the ways of the world. If she did not, Li Hui would be a little harsh. Doesn't your conscience hurt? In life, who would not be short of money? If one was really a gentleman, if he really needed money, he would at most ask for it. However, this guy had the heart to take both money and women. Therefore, Li Hui was not a gentleman. She was just a beauty. If she was an ugly old woman, Li Hui would not be fooled. After all, Li Hui was a scholar with ideals and pursuits. He wanted a fairy-like woman. If it was just for money, he would have married the fat daughter of a landlord. Ning Shu's face was full of suspicion. "My father said that one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. We have only known each other for a few days. How can you say that you like me?" Li Hui immediately said, "Heaven and earth can bear witness to my feelings for you." Ning Shu silently looked at Li Hui's head as another wisp of purple luck was sucked away. Ning Shu really wanted to wipe his face. Sometimes, it was not a good thing to see things too clearly. Ning Shu frowned. "But before my father died, he repeatedly told me to find a simple man to spend the rest of my life with. He especially told me not to marry a high-ranking official and not to get entangled with people with power and influence. He hoped that I would live a peaceful and happy life." Li Hui fanned himself with his fan, trying to extract information from Ning Shu's words. He knew that the man buried in the slope was not simple. He seemed to be experienced in worldly affairs and was extremely wealthy. Perhaps he was a court official who had resigned from his position and lived in seclusion. If that was the case, marrying this woman might give him unexpected political resources. In life, no one can stay out of trouble. You may think that you can get rid of trouble, but trouble can still come to you. The way to change your fate is to face it head-on. You are not an ordinary person. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in this desolate place? Yes, I plan to spend the rest of my life in this place. Li Hui took a deep breath. I will endure it. It was probably because she had spent her childhood in the mountains and forests. The outside world did not have much influence on her. If she did this outside, she would probably be drowned in a pig cage. My father said that I will find a man who is sincere to me and spend the rest of my life peacefully. Those glory and splendor may seem noble, but you need to work hard. Moreover, men have no choice in politics. There are all kinds of temptations. Ningshu said, Do you think that I don't know how I feel about you? If I am in high school, I will only have you as the wife of the top scholar. I promise that I will not marry a concubine. Li Hui said solemnly. Ningshu tilted his head and looked at Li Hui's purple luck that had been sucked away. He smiled slightly. He really treated swearing as a common occurrence. While chatting, Li Hui swore a few times. Ningshu counted with his fingers. He was clearly guilty, but he still insisted on swearing. Ningshu chuckled and looked at the dark clouds above her head. Lightning was brewing in the dark clouds and crackling sounds could be heard. She had never forced Li Hui to make an oath. Then you agree to let me take the imperial examination? Li Hui saw Ningshu smiling and quickly asked. Ningshu only said, Since you want to take the imperial examination, what does it have to do with me? Go if you want. Li Hui, after visiting the tomb, Li Hui stayed at Ningshu's house for a few days. When he had nothing to do, he used the wife of the top scholar to tempt Ningshu. He also promised Ningshu that he would only have one woman in his life. Ningshu directly said, Father said that it is normal to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. How can you only have one? In short, I don't believe a word you say. Not even a punctuation mark. Li Hui was about to kneel down. He finally understood that this woman was very wary of him. Who knew why this woman would not be shy when she saw a strange man? It seemed that under her father's teachings, she saw men as scourges. He tested her again and said what she wanted to hear. In the end, she did not believe him and questioned and refuted him. He wanted to vomit blood. What did she want him to do? Swearing an ancestral curse was useless. The hunter's father was really a bastard, causing a good girl to become like this. Did he not want his daughter to enjoy the pleasure of sex? If he did it with her, it would be too late. Chapter 2082. What is done cannot be undone, what is done cannot be undone. The more Li Hui thought about it, the more excited he was. As for the fact that the girl knew some martial arts, he threw it to the back of his mind. Now his blood was boiling. He felt that even if the girl knew some martial arts, the physical strength gap between a man and a woman was still very big. If a woman lost her virginity, she would always have a different kind of feelings for a man who had a physical contact with her. Even if her attitude was tough, she would eventually soften. Li Hui made up his mind. He looked at Ningshu, who was drying the herbs, with burning eyes. Ningshu turned her head back. Li Hui didn't avoid her gaze. He looked at Ningshu with deep affection. There was a smile on his face and a doting look. Ningshu ignored Li Hui. As for what bad things Li Hui wanted to do, he had to make sure that he could do it. In the middle of the night, he heard the sound of the door creaking. Ningshu, who was sitting on the bed, opened his eyes and released his spiritual force. He saw Li Hui rubbing his hands and coming out of the woodshed towards the main room. Ningshu grinned and simply fell on the bed and pulled the quilt over his body to sleep. Li Hui arrived at the door of the main room and hesitated. After all, there were 2 consequences for doing such a thing. It could be that the chicken flew away and the eggs were broken. If the girl was strong, it could be that both jade and common stone would be destroyed. Li Hui let out a long breath, then pushed open the door and stepped into the room. Immediately after, he heard a slight sound, and then he felt a sharp pain in his foot. Li Hui let out a roar. Suddenly, a thunderclap exploded beside Ningshu's ears, bringing with it boundless heavenly might. Ningshu lifted the quilt, jumped out of bed, lit the lamp and carefully asked, "Who is it?" "It's me." Li Hui's voice was filled with endless pain. He felt that his leg was going to break. Boom! Another thunder exploded in Ningshu's ear. Ningshu's heart was about to explode. "Your mother, Obviously someone wanted to do bad things. Now you want to punish her. Ning Shu put the lamp close to Li Hui and suddenly cried out, I put this trap in the house. Recently, the wild beasts in the mountains have started to move, and I was afraid that they would suddenly rush in. Also, I put one next to your door, so it won't be so easy to step on it. It's not like this one in the middle. Ning Shu had to find an excuse for her behavior. Otherwise, the thunder and lightning brewing in the dark clouds would strike her head. Ning Shu cursed in his heart. He put the lamp on the ground and said to Li Hui, I will open the trap. You bear with it. Li Hui was already on the verge of fainting from the pain. His entire body was sweating profusely and his body was twitching. Ning Shu pulled the trap open, causing Li Hui to roll his eyes in pain. He could feel the sharp teeth of the trap cutting into his bones. It was extremely painful. By the time Ning Shu removed the trap from Li Hui's leg, Li Hui had already fainted from the pain. Ning Shu dragged Li Hui to the bed and applied some herbs. Ning Shu looked up at the dark clouds in the sky and rolled his eyes. Then, he lay on the table and waited for Li Hui to wake up. Li Hui's leg was injured by the trap, and the teeth of the trap left bloody holes. It seemed that Li Hui would need to recuperate for a while. That night, Li Hui had a fever. Ning Shu fed him medicine and injected some spiritual energy into him. He muttered, I gave you all the essence of the sun and moon that I absorbed. You must get better. If you don't get better, what should I do? Anyway, these words were not for Li Hui to hear. They both did bad things, so why didn't Li Hui get struck? However, because Li Hui's injury had something to do with her, he wanted to strike her. How biased. Even the heavens were biased. Some people were favored by the heavens. When Li Hui woke up the next day, his lips were pale and his breathing was weak. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief and asked, Are you feeling better? Did you know that it was very dangerous for you to suddenly jump over last night? I prepared that trap to hunt. My house has been ransacked by wild beasts more than once. Li Hui moved his body and felt that his wound was torn. The pain was excruciating. Half of his body was numb from the pain. Li Hui felt that he was very unlucky. Everything he did was not going well. He suspected that this trap was deliberately placed there by someone waiting for him. Li Hui looked at the woman who was feeding him water. Was it intentional or a coincidence? Wasn't this woman not very understanding? What made Li Hui even more anxious was that he had to go to the capital for the exam. He had not gotten the money yet and his leg was injured. It would take 100 days for his meridians and bones to recover. He definitely would not be able to go to the capital for the exam in a short period of time. The journey was so long and he would have to travel for a long time. Would his legs be able to take it if he rushed? If he missed this opportunity, he would have to wait for 3 years. He did not want to wait for 3 days. If he had to eat at home for 3 years, his sister-in-law might chase him out. How could you put such a dangerous thing in your house? Li Hui's voice was filled with strong questioning and hatred. How could he go to the capital for the exam like this? What was more frightening was that his leg would not be crippled. If he was crippled, he would definitely not be able to be an official. Li Hui felt that his heart was being repeatedly tortured in a pot of oil. He was especially angry at Ning Shu, the initiator of all this. Ning Shu explained, I'm the daughter of a hunter, so it's normal for me to have hunting tools at home. Also, as I said, there are a lot of beasts recently. Putting a trap at the door can also serve as a warning. Why did you come to my door in the middle of the night? I will put away these traps in the morning. Why did you come here in the middle of the night? Do you have any bad intentions? Ning Shu questioned Li Hui. Li Hui suddenly choked. He could not say that he had any bad intentions. However, he had suffered such a serious injury. Li Hui felt that he had to get something back. I'm thirsty because I slept too much. I got up to ask if there's any water to drink and if my leg is broken. If my leg is broken, what will happen to my dream? Li Hui's face was full of despair. There was no need for him to pretend. He was sincere. Ning Shu said, Don't worry. Nothing will happen. My father will make a lot of medicine. It will be very effective. You will be fine soon. Don't worry. Li Hui did not speak. He blamed Ning Shu for having a heart of stone. If Ning Shu had agreed early, such a thing would not have happened. He also blamed himself for being born in a family at the bottom of society. For a little money, he abandoned his dignity and personality. He did not get anything. He could not get what he wanted. God was too cruel to him. He did not eat meat. Instead, he was injured. God, who was being blamed by Li Hui, was brewing thunder and lightning. At any time, it would strike down on Ning Shu's head. It probably felt that Ning Shu did not take the initiative to harm others. Although he was injured, it was a little related. Otherwise, the thunder would directly strike Ning Shu's head. It was ambiguous. At most, it would strike down to thunder as a warning. Chapter 2083. Li Hui profited from his misfortune. He was not finally able to sleep on a soft pillow. Ning Shu stayed by Li Hui's side every day to take care of him. Only then did Li Hui feel that the days of his injury were not so unbearable. However, the several bloody holes in the bear trap still made Li Hui's mood extremely depressed. Even with Ning Shu's meticulous care, Li Hui was still unable to calm down. He felt that Ning Shu's care was reasonable. Who asked Ning Shu to put a bear trap at home? However, although he thought this in his heart, he could not say it out loud. He looked at Ning Shu affectionately and thanked Ning Shu for his hard work. Ning Shu's heart was in turmoil. He really wanted to laugh. His heart was filled with resentment. Enduring the pain, he still had to say words of love. Ning Shu felt tired for Li Hui. Was it comfortable to use love to control people? Ning Shu had always been thinking, was it so difficult to borrow money? Why did he have to use this method to get money? Someone wanted to help him, but he was unwilling. It was as if he was being insulted. Acting like a noble person, he wanted people to take the initiative to give him money. He did not know what was going on with this awkward temperament. When Li Hui fell asleep, Ning Shu channeled spiritual energy into him to speed up the healing of his wounds. His mouth muttered that he was unwilling. Of course, this was all for some other thing to see. When he channeled spiritual energy into Li Hui, Ning Shu thought of Mo Ming in the previous world. At that time, it was very difficult to save up spiritual energy for Mo Ming. However, in this world, he could channel spiritual energy into Li Hui as much as he wanted. Ning Shu felt like he was being cursed in his heart. It really felt like a good person did not live long, but a scourge lived for 1,000 years. Li Hui's daily needs were taken care of by Ning Shu. It made Li Hui feel like a landlord. It was very comfortable. Ning Shu just silently took care of Li Hui. The wounds that would have taken a long time to heal were healed in a few months. Ning Shu proudly said, "My father's medicine is good." Li Hui looked at his scabbed wound and got off the bed. He felt fine and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he wasn't crippled. Li Hui Ning Shu cupped his hands and said, "I've been away from home for a while. I need to go home. Do you want to come with me?" Ning Shu shook his head. "My father said that I can't leave this place." "Didn't you leave last time too?" Li Hui said with an ugly expression. He still wanted to bring Ning Shu back and let the neighbors see that he has a wife. Then, their relationship would be confirmed. However, the other party actually refused to leave. This made Li Hui very unhappy. Ning Shu said, "It was because I went out once that I knew that my father was right. I got lost as soon as I went out. I guess I have a bad sense of direction." Li Hui, seeing that you didn't get lost in the deep mountains and forests, Li Hui complained silently in his heart. He said directly, "You won't get lost. I will never leave you behind." Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at the purple chi on Li Hui's head. He chuckled. "I like it when you swear at the slightest disagreement." Li Hui saw that Ning Shu's expression was a little strange, as if he didn't believe his words. He immediately said, "Believe me. Come with me to the capital to take the exam." Ning Shu blinked. "Why do you want me to go to the capital with you? You think I will have other women? Follow me. I am willing to accept your surveillance. I will definitely let you see my heart for you." Li Hui said. Ning Shu clicked his tongue. "But if I leave here, what will happen to the family? Sell everything at home. Then we will settle down in the capital. I will definitely go back to high school and let you become the wife of the top scholar." Li Hui said firmly. Li Hui, will only take one ladle of water in this life. You are my ladle. Ning Shu watched as the purple chi on Li Hui's head was sucked away. Li Hui's brain worked quickly. Seeing that he couldn't take out money from Ning Shu's pocket, he let Ning Shu go with him to take the exam. If there was anything he needed on the way, Ning Shu would pay. Ning Shu knew from the beginning that Li Hui came for her money and people. Moreover, it wasn't just because he liked her. Ning Shu shook his head. My father said to find an ordinary person in this life. I can't be involved in the matters of the court. So, I won't go to the capital with you for the exam. Li Hui's expression was ferocious for a moment, but then it was replaced by an extremely sad expression. Wenhua, don't you have any feelings for me at all? What can I do to let you know my heart? You said you want to find an ordinary person, but your appearance means that your husband is not an ordinary person. If an ordinary person married a beautiful wife, who knew what kind of trouble it would bring? Ning Shu smiled like a flower and said, then I won't marry for the rest of my life. My father said that nothing is happier than being on your own. If it's not the right person, why should I compromise? I can live a good life on my own. What kind of rebellious thought was this? Li Hui directly said, how can you have such a dangerous thought? What can a woman do if she doesn't marry? If a woman doesn't marry, is she still a complete woman? If she doesn't have children, she is not a complete woman. Li Hui was almost immune to the hunter's father's words. Anyway, it was so rebellious. If this woman grew up in an ordinary family and had such thoughts, her parents would beat her to death. Li Hui was a little impatient. What did she want? It was really annoying. Li Hui felt that it was because he was too good to this woman that she took advantage of him. Li Hui snorted and directly expressed his displeasure. Wenhua, since it's like this, let's all calm down. I'm going home. Ning Shu nodded. Young master, take care. Li Hui pursed his lips. Seeing that Ning Shu was indifferent, he felt even more frustrated. Then he would use the method of playing hard to get and give her the cold shoulder first. Li Hui left. Ning Shu raised his head and looked at the dark clouds. He laughed and then hummed a little tune as he entered the house. When Li Hui returned home, his brother and sister-in-law had been looking for him like crazy. A person had disappeared for a month. His brother and sister-in-law had gone to the town to report. The constables had been looking for him for a few days and were too lazy to look. He was just an ordinary person. His brother still had some brotherly feelings for this younger brother. After being missing for so long, even his bones could not be found. How could he explain this to his deceased parents? Sister-in-law did not have any feelings for this younger brother-in-law. At most, she felt that he was a freeloader who was incomparably arrogant. It was as if he would jump out of this nest at any time. This place was just a stepping stone for him. He did not have any feelings for his family. It was because of this attitude that made sister-in-law very unhappy. He worked hard without complaint and did not have the slightest bit of gratitude. He even despised people. It's not like they are your parents. They have to tolerate you. Chapter 2084. Everyone in the family thought that Li Hui was dead, but Li Hui suddenly came back in good condition, wearing brocade clothes. They were all shocked. Li Hui only said a few words to his brother and went into the house. His attitude made his sister-in-law want to scold him again. Li Hui had something on his mind, so he hid in his house every day. When he ate and saw the food at home, he suddenly felt that he was eating pig food. The big bowl was filled with boiled vegetables without oil. Seeing such dishes, Li Hui suddenly lost his appetite, and his chopsticks felt dirty. In the mountains, he ate delicious food. When placed on an exquisite plate, it was almost like a scene from a painting. Even if there was smoke and fire, it was like a poem. Li Hui was hungry, but he did not want to eat at all. He ate a little, and the taste was indescribable. He felt that the pot was not cleaned. Thinking that these dishes were made by his sister-in-law, who could cook anything, Li Hui could not eat anymore. Seeing his sister-in-law eating, he thought of the beautiful Wenhua. How could a woman eat like a hungry ghost, stuffing food into her mouth? It was so ugly. How could such a woman be called a woman? His brother asked, "Why aren't you eating?" Where have you been all this time? I went to the neighboring town. I was thinking of ways to raise money to go to the capital to take the exam. Li Hui did not want to look at the food on the table, so he looked away. His sister-in-law muttered that he only knew how to daydream every day and still wanted to go to high school. He did not even tell anyone where he was going and did not even do any farm work at home and went to find someone. Li Hui's sister-in-law was a chatterbox, and her husband could not help but scold her twice before finally stopping. Li Hui really could not eat these things, but he did not want to listen to his sister-in-law's sarcastic words. Compared to his sister-in-law's words, Li Hui would rather listen to the beauty talk about his father. At least her voice was pleasant, and she was beautiful. Li Hui endured his hunger, and the next day, he took the jade hairpin and pawned it on the streets. Then he went to the restaurant to eat some delicious food, and finally he was not hungry anymore. Ning Shu continued to cultivate every day, plucking herbs from the mountains. It was good to have some herbs in hand. If she needed help, she would save them. After all, she was a disciple of the living Buddha. Ning Shu counted with his fingers. It seemed that Li Hui had not appeared for a while. Could it be that Li Hui had given up? He could give up on a beauty, but he couldn't give up on his own future. Counting the days, Ning Shu felt a little strange. Could it be that something had happened to Li Hui? Or did something happen that she didn't know? Ning Shu transformed into a monk and went down the mountain to beg for alms. When he arrived at Li Hui's house, he scanned Li Hui's house and realized that Li Hui was not home. If he wasn't at home, it meant that he had gone to town. Sometimes, Li Hui would go to town to attend some banquets. However, the weather was gradually getting hotter. Li Hui was more anxious than anyone else, but it was not normal for him to not look for her for such a long time. Ning Shu went to town and took some herbs to the medicine hall to sell. With some money, he bought vegetarian buns to eat. Otherwise, he would go around begging for alms. After staying in town for a few days, Ning Shu saw Li Hui walking with a girl on the night of the river lanterns. Their behavior was somewhat ambiguous. What surprised Ning Shu even more was that this girl had a servant girl by her side. Ning Shu had seen this servant girl before. She was the one who gave Ning Shu a copper coin and some snacks. Of course, it was because of her young miss's orders. Ning Shu sized up this young miss. She seemed to be a gentle girl. Her appearance and behavior were good. At a glance, he could tell that she was a young miss from a rich family. Li Hui looked at this young miss with deep affection. It was similar to when he looked at Ning Shu. Was he looking for Yun Beitai? If he couldn't get money from one girl, he would get money from another girl. It was the same trick. However, the young miss in the boudoir clearly had not experienced such things. Being looked at by Li Hui with a burning gaze, 2 red clouds floated on her face. She looked very shy. Most importantly, when she lowered her head, there was a touch of shyness and gentleness. Young Miss Wang's actions made Li Hui regain some of his self-confidence. This was a normal girl. As for the one on the mountain, she was otherworldly. She had not been taught by her family. Naturally, she did not know the virtues of a woman. She did not know the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. She did not know how to be gentle and virtuous. The servant girl looked at the young miss and the talented young master Li walking in front. She sighed in her heart. The young miss and young master Li met at a poetry competition. The young miss said that young master Li was overflowing with talent. This time, it was not easy to come out to admire the lanterns. She had to follow behind the young miss and young master Li. She could not admire the lanterns properly. The servant girl pursed her lips. Li Hui won a beautiful lantern for young Miss Wang by guessing the riddles. This made young Miss Wang, who was holding the lantern, smile like a flower. She was even more beautiful and gentle. Ning Shu smiled faintly. Li Hui's method of deceiving young girls in their boudoirs was more or less successful. This kind of story between a poor scholar and a young miss was like the story of a scholar and a seductress. It was very common. A talented scholar and a beautiful woman were a match made in heaven. Ning Shu suddenly thought that if he suddenly appeared in front of Li Hui, Li Hui's expression would be like he had seen a ghost. Ning Shu thought about it and directly changed into Wenhua's appearance. He walked to Li Hui's side and saw that Li Hui was holding something. He took the initiative to snatch the thing in Li Hui's hand. After being snatched, Li Hui's heart sank. His expression was not good. He turned his head to look at the person who snatched his thing. Li Hui's expression immediately froze. That expression was similar to seeing a ghost in broad daylight. His face twitched and he suspected that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Ning Shu wore the bracelet on his wrist and asked Li Hui, "Does it look good?" Miss Wang, who was beside Li Hui, frowned. What was wrong with this girl? Why did she ask Li Hui if it looked good? Li Hui was no longer a high-ranking official who would reach the top in the future. The current Li Hui was not so thick-skinned. Facing the sudden appearance of Ning Shu, Li Hui gulped and said, "She's quite pretty." Ning Shu put down his swinging hand and said with a smile, "I think so too." Miss Wang's frown deepened. The servant girl immediately asked, "Who are you? Why did you snatch young Master Li's thing?" It seemed that young Master Li wanted to buy something for Miss Wang. Although the servant girl felt that any of Miss Wang's things were better than the things on the stall. Ning Shu tilted his head and said, "Because I like it. This young master did not pay for it. Why can't I take it?" Li Hui saw that Ning Shu did not expose him, did not say that she knew him, and did not make a scene on the streets. Li Hui felt that she was quite sensible. "Young master, don't you think so?" Ning Shu asked Li Hui. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui with a smile. Chapter 2085. Li Hui was scared out of his wits by the sudden appearance of Ning Shu. His heart was pounding nonstop. He felt as though he had been caught in the act. He was also afraid that both parties would lose everything. "Young master, you haven't answered my question. Have you paid for this?" Ning Shu asked casually. Li Hui said bitterly, "That's true. But miss, I'm buying this as a gift. I hope you can give it to me." Li Hui's back was facing Miss Wang. He looked at Ning Shu with a burning gaze. It was as though he was buying this for Ning Shu, but he was also hinting at Miss Wang. Miss Wang's face flashed with a hint of shyness. Ning Shu took off the bracelet and gave the boss money. Finally, he said, "What should I do? I like it too much. I'm sorry." Ning Shu sized up Li Hui. Then he picked up a jade pendant and said, "Young master, you are dressed in fine clothes, but you don't have a jade pendant on your waist. It doesn't match." Li Hui's face flashed with embarrassment. The jade pendant and jade hairpin that matched his clothes had been pawned. "Thank you for the reminder. I left this jade pendant at home." As long as the other party didn't expose him, he was happy to act in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu chuckled. Then he said to Miss Wang, "I'm sorry for snatching what he wanted to give you. But there are many things here. Miss will definitely like them." "Miss Wang, how do I respond to this?" She just felt that Li Hui was overflowing with talent. His poems were better than others. They were more exquisite than others. But there was no relationship. The relationship was hazy. Li Hui, didn't she not want to go down the mountain? Why did she go down the mountain now? She refused to go down the mountain when he invited her. Now, she suddenly appeared. And it was so late. Li Hui felt that he had been fooled. He had invited her time and time again and was rejected. But now, she came down the mountain again. Why didn't she get lost this time? Li Hui had to face one thing in his heart. This girl didn't love him that much. If she really loved him, she would have given her all. She didn't want to make things difficult for her lover. But this girl had already made things difficult for him countless times. Seeing him with another woman, how could she still be so calm? Shouldn't she feel sad? Or should she make a fuss? Even if she did, it would prove his charm. Ning Shu disappeared into the crowd like a wisp of smoke. Since it was already late, he disappeared in a flash. Miss Wang asked Chao Li Hui, "Young master knows that woman." Li Hui quickly denied, "I don't know her." However, when he was admiring the lanterns with Miss Wang, Li Hui was a little absent-minded. He would look around as if he was looking for something, afraid that Ning Shu would come out of nowhere. Li Hui felt that his heart couldn't take it anymore. Miss Wang was meticulous and could naturally feel Li Hui's abnormality. Her heart felt a little sour. Could it be that young Master Li had taken a fancy to that young lady? He didn't know which family she was from, but it was obvious that she wasn't an ordinary person. Li Hui had something on his mind, and Miss Wang also had something on her mind. The young maidservant followed behind them, somewhat confused. Neither of them admired the lanterns. In the end, they placed the lanterns on the riverside bridge and then parted ways. Miss Wang said to Li Hui, "With young master's talent, he will definitely be able to pass the high school in the future." Li Hui smiled bitterly and shook his head. He cupped his hands and said, "It's late. Miss, you should go back quickly. It's not safe." Miss Wang immediately asked, "Young master, do you have any difficulties?" Li Hui immediately shook his head and said, "It's nothing. Miss, you should go back quickly. It's late." The more Li Hui didn't say, the more Miss Wang wanted to know. She directly said, "Young master, if you have something to say, just say it. See if I can help you with anything." Li Hui wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, he sighed and said, "Miss, you should go back in. It's not safe for a woman to be outside." Miss Wang frowned and said, "Young master, what do you mean? Is it something that I can't know? If that's the case, then I won't ask." Li Hui sighed and cupped his hands. "Miss Wang, I'll take my leave first." Li Hui turned and was about to leave, but he didn't say anything. Miss Wang twisted her handkerchief into a fried dough twist and gathered her courage to stop Li Hui. In the end, she realized that her actions were inappropriate. She retracted her arms and said softly, "Young master, is there something you're worried about?" Li Hui's appearance was not bad. His frown made people want to raise their hands and smooth it out. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui with his arms crossed. She was invisible and had been following between the two. Looking at the pure and innocent Miss, Ning Shu just wanted to facepalm. Why did men keep women at home? It was because they were easy to fool. They had not seen the world, so they were easy to fool. Moreover, it was easy to control them at home. It was to prevent the woman from going out and finding out that there was a better man than him. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui playfully. Li Hui was playing hard to get. "You want to know? I won't tell you. I'll let you beg me to tell you. Who would take the other seriously when it comes to playing games?" Li Hui sighed. It seemed that there was some indescribable melancholy. That moment of weakness was enough to arouse any woman's maternal instincts. Some people had strong maternal instincts, such as Miss Wang. Seeing Li Hui like this, her expression became much gentler. Some people did not have strong maternal instincts, such as Ning Shu. He crossed his arms and chuckled. He even wanted to kick Li Hui's penis. Then, Li Hui's face was bitter. He talked about his family. His parents died early, his eldest sister-in-law despised him, and he didn't even have the travel expenses to go to the capital for the exam. He had to muddle through the rest of his life. Then, with an apologetic face, he said that he shouldn't have said this to Miss Wang. He didn't want to gain her sympathy. After hearing this, Miss Wang saw that Li Hui was a dragon among men. More importantly, even in such a difficult situation, he didn't forget to work hard. Furthermore, Miss Wang felt that Li Hui was a talented person. "I'm really sorry for saying so much to Miss Wang today. I'll take my leave first." Li Hui didn't mention the matter of borrowing money to Miss Wang. He didn't want to take advantage of her. Miss Wang watched Li Hui's back disappear into the crowd. In the dark, she couldn't see who was who. Mississippi, the servant girl saw that her miss was in a daze. She couldn't help but shout, "Miss, it's time to go back. Otherwise, Madam will be worried." Miss Wang turned and left. She even turned back to look in the direction Li Hui left. Ning Shu watched from the side as Li Hui tricked a girl. Ning Shu used the aura examination technique to see Miss Wang's luck. Originally, Miss Wang's luck was red. But now, the red was slowly fading. The women Li Hui met not only had strong luck but also had a noble status. Otherwise, they would only end up in a miserable state. In simple words, Li Hui was the wildest horse. Ordinary women couldn't tame him. Chapter 2086. Ning Shu felt that it was because he did not agree that Li Hui was so anxious to find Yun Bei Tai. If he could not get money from one woman, then he would get money from a second woman. Therefore, in the plot, Tao Yao was devoted to Li Hui. Li Hui had Tao Yao in his hands, and Tao Yao's money was borrowed from the old monk Huiji. As for why Tao Yao was unwilling to use his ability, it was because cultivation was not easy. It was not easy to conjure things, and cultivation was not good. Secondly, Tao Yao was very afraid that Li Hui would know his true identity, so he was unwilling to show any difference. However, Li Hui still found out. Li Hui did not say anything and did not expose Tao Yao. They slept together and did whatever they wanted. There was nothing unusual about it. Ning Shu looked at Miss Wang's back. In that case, Miss Wang was entangled with Li Hui because of her. After all, such a lady did not appear in the plot. Li Hui, oh Li Hui. Ning Shu raised her head and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. Lightning was brewing in the clouds. Speaking of which, it was strange. It seemed that only she could see these dark clouds. The heavenly might was always following her like a shadow. This feeling was really strange. The invisible Ning Shu followed Li Hui all the way. Li Hui did not return to the village. Instead, he found an inn in the town to stay. Seeing Li Hui take out the silver pieces very generously, Ning Shu curled his lips. His brother and sister-in-law's family took out so much silver, and they did not have the money to stay in an inn. The jade hairpin on Li Hui's head and the jade pendant on his waist were gone. They must have been pawned at a pawn shop. Li Hui went to his room and closed the door. Then he took out an ingot of silver from his bag. 1 ingot of silver was 50 taels. Then, the pawn shop would only give 60 taels for a high-quality jade pendant and a jade hairpin. 60 taels was a huge sum of money for an ordinary family, but for someone like him who wanted to go to the capital, this amount of money was far from enough. According to the scholar who was going to take the exam, the prices in the capital were very expensive. Moreover, the inns to stay in were very expensive. Even the woodshed was charged with silver and not copper coins. Food was even more expensive, not to mention treating others to a meal. There was also the money needed to take care of interpersonal relationships. With money, one could move the gods, and with money, one could make the ghosts turn millstones. His little bit of money was far from enough. Li Hui put away the silver. He regretted not taking more things from Wenhua's house. He immediately realized that this kind of behavior was against the rules. Moreover, with such a stain, how could he be an official? Moreover, Li Hui was subconsciously afraid of Ning Shu. He couldn't control Ning Shu. What if Ning Shu reported the matter to the authorities? After all, his father was a hunter. Every day, he would talk about sinking treasure chests in anger. Li Hui was a little afraid that Ning Shu would destroy them both. Li Hui had already given up on getting money from Ning Shu. Otherwise, he would have gone for wool and come home shorn. He would wait until he was in high school. When he was in high school, he would make that girl regret it. Regret it so much that she would shed tears of blood. However, would she get into a fight with the young miss of the Wang family? If she did, both sides would fail. Li Hui also knew that stepping on 2 boats could easily lead to failure. However, he had no choice now. The imperial examinations were getting closer and closer. If he missed it, it would be another 3 years. Li Hui couldn't afford to wait. The invisible Ning Shu sat across from Li Hui. He propped up his chin and looked at Li Hui's actions. After that, Li Hui and Miss Wang frequently came into contact. As a young Miss Wang didn't have much time to go out. She pretended to be a servant and followed her personal servant. She said that she was going out to buy things. Then, she went to the inn where Li Hui was staying to look for him. Although the servant gave the two a chance to be alone, she still guarded the door. If something really happened, the servant would rush in. If something happened to the young miss, the madam would beat her to death. She would beat her half to death and then sell her. For her own life, the servant didn't dare to let anything happen between the young miss and young Master Li. Especially after Li Hui confessed his situation, the servant felt that the young miss had no future with this young Master Li. She called him young master because he was a human. The servant perked up her ears and listened to the movements in the room, especially when there was a man and a woman alone inside. Ning Shu put his hand on the table and propped up his chin to look at the pair of lovebirds. Li Hui seemed to be impatient with Miss Wang's arrival. He said directly, "Miss Wang, don't come looking for me in the future. If we continue like this, there won't be any results. Besides, I'm going to the capital. Miss Wang didn't take Li Hui's impatience to heart. She asked directly, "Are you going to take the imperial exam? When are you leaving?" "I'm leaving in a few days. If I pass the high school." Li Hui didn't say anything, but looked at Miss Wang with a gaze full of ambiguity and passion. "If I don't pass the high school, Miss Wang can pretend that you don't know me. I believe that young master can pass the high school." Miss Wang seemed to be excited. "Gulan is willing to wait for you." Li Hui's eyes exploded with a light that made people's hearts tremble. No one dared to look at him directly. Miss Wang's eyes were like they were scalded. She immediately lowered her head. "Thank you, Gulan." Li Hui directly called Miss Wang by her maiden name. He was no longer the unfamiliar Miss Wang. This made Miss Wang's face turn red. Li Hui was intoxicated looking at her. The atmosphere was a bit ambiguous. Li Hui reached out and held Miss Wang's hand. He said firmly, "Meeting you in this life is my greatest honor. Meeting you, I have no regrets." Ning Shu, sometimes you can't help but accept that when a man deliberately wants to be good to a woman and has a purpose to please her, the woman can't resist and falls into the trap of sweetness. She was soft-hearted and emotional. She longed for a man to protect her, love her, and shelter her from the wind and rain. It was very easy to be confused by a man's appearance. She used her bright colors to hunt. Ning Shu looked at the two people who were intimate with each other. Looking at the shy Miss Wang, Ning Shu sighed. In reality, Li Hui didn't make any promises. He just said some specious words to give people hints. When he was with Ning Shu, he was very straightforward. He said that he liked her and wanted to marry her. But when he was with Miss Wang, he said it vaguely. After being intimate for a while, they almost went to bed. At least Miss Wang knew that she couldn't be intimate. If Li Hui really passed the high school, it would be best for him to marry her. The servant girl waited at the door. She was afraid that the two would really be intimate, so she knocked on the door and asked Miss Wang to come out. Li Hui grabbed Miss Wang's hand and didn't want to let go. Miss Wang shyly waved Li Hui's hand away and left with the servant girl. After Miss Wang left, Li Hui's face sank. He actually didn't mention the travel expenses. Chapter 2087. Li Hui couldn't directly talk about the travel expenses. Otherwise, Miss Wang would think that he came for the money. If he aroused Miss Wang's vigilance, he wouldn't be able to borrow money at all. Moreover, he had to quickly get the travel expenses to the capital. Wenhua appeared on the night of the lantern viewing. If Wenhua made a scene, both of his sides would be ruined. If he got the travel expenses and went to the capital, it had nothing to do with him even if there was a huge commotion here. The premise was that they didn't make a scene before he left. Li Hui was a little angry. Why didn't he meet the easygoing Miss Wang first, but the troublesome Wenhua first? Now he was worried that the two of them would implicate him. He was thinking about everything now. He just wanted to quickly get the travel expenses and go to the capital to take the exam. Li Hui realized that in the end, only by becoming an official could he become a person and have a meteoric rise. He didn't have to beg his grandparents for a bit of money now. Ning Shu supported her chin with both hands and looked at Li Hui's gloomy face. She couldn't help but laugh. "Seeing that you're not doing well, I feel much better." Due to the dark clouds above her head, Ning Shu could deal with Li Hui at any time. But she couldn't. Moreover, Ning Shu couldn't have any evil thoughts towards Li Hui. Otherwise, the thunder would explode in her ears. She reckoned that if she warned him too many times, the thunder would directly strike her body. Ning Shu felt that the mountain spirits should be raised by her stepmother. Otherwise, why would she not treat them well? She was probably afraid that some mountain spirits would break the law. Ning Shu felt that since Li Hui was afraid of something, she should fulfill Li Hui's wish. Ning Shu went out of Li Hui's room and turned into an old monk. He knocked on the door of the Wang family's courtyard. The servant opened the door and saw a monk. His attitude was very kind. "Master, who are you looking for?" The reason why monks were so popular was because of Huiji, who had lived for more than 150 years. He was the long-lived living Buddha and was very famous. Ning Shu bowed and said Amitabha. He said that he was looking for his master. The servant went in to report. After a while, a middle-aged man with a beard came out. When he saw Ning Shu, he asked, "Master, what's the matter?" In the end, he invited Ning Shu into the room and served him tea. Ning Shu said, "The young lady of your mansion has reached the age of marriage. Recently, the red Luan star has been moving." Old Master Wang's expression immediately turned ugly. He said directly, "My daughter has been staying at home and has not seen any strange men." "Master, you are a monk. How can you slander a girl's innocence?" Ning Shu said, "It's my fault. When I passed by, I saw a faint black fog above Benefactor's mansion. It's a bad omen that will harm the whole family. If I'm wrong, Benefactor can ask someone else to check it out." The Wang family's residence was originally blessed with good fortune, but now, there were indeed dark clouds. Since ancient times, the feng shui of a house was the most important. Just like in the capital, the closer the residence was to the imperial palace, the more likely it was to be tainted by the purple qi. It was also very beneficial to the people living in the house. It was said that Li Hui was not easy to deal with. If one did not have enough luck and fate, they would not be able to suppress Li Hui. Instead, they would be devoured. Old Master Wang was skeptical, but he still gave Ning Shu some alms. Ning Shu thanked him and left. Ning Shu stood at the door and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. "Can you blame me? I'm also saving people." Moreover, the Wang family is really suffering from an unexpected disaster. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and left. If Li Hui promised Miss Wang that he would marry her, when the time came for Li Hui to turn into a dragon, he might not be so ruthless. If not, the family would definitely be ruined. After Ning Shu left, there was a shadow in Old Master Wang's heart. He called his wife over to ask what his daughter had been doing recently. He heard from the master that the red Luan star had moved. Could it be that she really had an affair with that young man? Don't do anything shameful. The Wang family couldn't afford to lose face. Old Master Wang treated his daughter well and gave her whatever she wanted. If she really did something, the Wang family couldn't afford to lose face. Madame Wang was shocked. She said that Gu Lan stayed at home every day, either embroidering or reading. When Old Master Wang heard that his daughter was reading a book, he asked what book she was reading. He hoped that it wouldn't be a book about a scholar or a beauty. This kind of book was written by some people, and women in the boudoir liked to read such books. They would cry and laugh, hoping for a touching love. Who knew what the person who wrote such a book was thinking? Girls were already at the age of love, but when they saw such a book, they would fall head over heels for it. Who knew what an impulsive girl would do? Reputation was very important to a girl's family. When Old Master Wang thought about this, his face turned dark. The old monk's words had been lingering in his heart, making him very unhappy. Madame Wang saw that her husband was angry and called her daughter's maid over. When the maid saw how serious Old Master and Madame Wang were, she had a bad feeling. Old Master Wang asked with a cold face who the young miss had been meeting recently. She had to tell the truth or she would be sold. The young maidservant was so frightened that she spilled the beans and told her everything that had happened. Old Master Wang was speechless. Now he felt even more disgusted. Unfortunately, the old monk had been sent away by him. When the old man found out about this matter, he did not call his daughter in front of him to scold her. Just look at how many women, for the sake of a poor and pedantic scholar, would sever ties with their families and run away with their men. They would eat rice bran and pickled vegetables, live in a cold house, and then wait bitterly like a bitch. Only a fool would be able to humiliate himself like this. His daughter, who had been raised well, ran away with someone else just like that. His family's reputation would be ruined. Old Master Wang would never do such a self-harming thing. Old Master Wang told Madame Wang to keep an eye on the young miss and stop persuading her. Some people were determined to make a choice and even 10 cows couldn't pull them back. The more she said, the more rebellious she became. In the end, she wanted to glorify the person in her heart as a god. Old Master Wang found a famous Taoist to take a look at the feng shui of the house. The old Taoist took a look and said that the house wasn't peaceful and they had provoked something powerful. The powerful thing was just a poor scholar. Wang Gulan was kept at home by her mother. If she wasn't asked to embroider, she would be asked to embroider. Moreover, her mother kept telling her to read less as it was bad for her eyes, so she took away some books. Miss Wang was a little puzzled. Moreover, she hadn't been able to go out for a few days, making her anxious. Miss Wang was anxious, but Li Hui was even more anxious. He cursed in his heart. Why didn't she appear? Was she playing with him? Did she hear that he was short of money and ran away? Chapter 2088. Could it be that the Wang family couldn't even take out such a small amount of money? Ning Shu was still holding his chin with both hands as he watched Li Hui walk around in circles like a dog stepping on its own tail. Li Hui had no choice but to wander around the Wang family. In the end, he couldn't even see the servant girl who was usually allowed out. Li Hui gave the gatekeeper some money and told him to find the servant girl, saying that her brother had come to see him. Speaking of which, Li Hui was still a coward. He didn't dare to directly ask to see Miss Wang. He also knew the situation at home. It was very likely that he would be beaten out of the house with a broom. Therefore, he could only take an unconventional approach. Ning Shu stood beside Li Hui and watched as sweat seeped out of his forehead. The weather was getting hotter. Li Hui was like an ant on a hot pan. The imperial examinations were getting closer and closer. However, Li Hui still didn't get any money. According to Ning Shu, Li Hui only had 50 taels of silver. If he lived frugally, he could do some temporary work in the capital and survive. In any case, Ning Shu didn't know how much money Li Hui wanted. It seemed that Li Hui's ambition was quite big. Interpersonal relationships were very expensive. There was nothing that one meal couldn't do. If it wasn't enough, 2 meals would be enough. When inviting someone to a meal, one couldn't just order ordinary food. Delicious food would definitely be expensive, especially with the capital's frightening prices. Therefore, 50 taels of silver was a huge sum for an ordinary family. Even if they didn't earn that much in a year, it was still not enough for Li Hui, who wanted to go to the capital to take the imperial examinations. The servant girl came and saw that Li Hui's expression wasn't good. She directly said that Miss Wang was a little busy recently and might not be able to leave the residence. After saying that, she directly left. Li Hui's face darkened. What exactly happened? Li Hui returned to the inn with a dark face. Ning Shu didn't go back. He removed his invisibility and told the gatekeeper that he wanted to visit Miss Wang. The gatekeeper looked at Ning Shu's eyes and hurriedly went to ask Miss Wang. When he returned, he even politely led the way for Ning Shu. Ning Shu arrived in front of Miss Wang's embroidery building. The environment was quiet and secluded. He could tell that Miss Wang was a woman with style. Even now, she was a little artistic. Miss Wang was stunned when she saw Ning Shu. She asked suspiciously, "You're the lady from the Lantern Festival?" Ning Shu nodded. "It's me." Miss Wang asked the maid to prepare some pastries and tea. Then she asked, "Miss, is there anything you need from me?" Ning Shu said directly, "I met Li Hui first. Li Hui swore that he would marry me. In this life, he would only marry 1 out of 3,000. Wang Gulan's face paled, and she said reluctantly, "Young Master Li didn't mention you to me." In other words, she didn't know of his existence. Ning Shu took a sip of the tea brought by the young maidservant and said, "You should know about Li Hui's family background. The clothes he is wearing are also given by me. As for the hairpin and jade pendant, he pawned them all." Miss Wang's hands clenched into fists under the table. Her nails dug into her palms, stinging. Ning Shu continued, "Li Hui asked me to accompany him to the capital for the exam. He said he was willing to accept my supervision." Miss Wang's heart was sour. Then she said, "Since you know about his family's situation, why didn't you give him the money to go to the capital for the exam?" Hearing that Li Hui had pawned something given to him by someone else, Miss Wang felt as if something in her heart had collapsed. Ning Shu tilted his head and smiled faintly. "My father said that men in this world are fickle. I was just testing Li Hui. I was the only one left in my family. I had to make plans for myself. But I didn't expect that he would." Miss Wang's face became even paler. Ning Shu's face was also a little pale because of the rumbling of thunder. Ning Shu's heart was filled with sarcasm. Sometimes he felt that it was fine if this muddle-headed world was destroyed. But it was a pity that such an innocent person had been harmed by evil people. Now, they had to pay the price for the evil people's actions. Honest people were really eating your family's rice. Dad didn't love you and Mom didn't love you. Perhaps Ning Shu's words were a little out of line, so the warning rumbled. But Ning Shu's actions were to save an innocent person who had been implicated. Miss Wang and Ning Shu looked at each other speechlessly. Miss Wang bit her lip and asked, "Is the matter between you and young Master Li true?" Ning Shu nodded. "It's true. He once swore in front of my father's grave that he would love me and make me the wife of the top scholar." Miss Wang almost couldn't sit still. She also felt a secret sense of shame. She felt as if she had stolen something from someone else. But she really didn't know that such a woman existed. Miss Wang was a little speechless. Ning Shu smiled and said, "I don't have any ill intentions towards Miss Wang. Miss Wang is really a lady of the boudoir. My father passed away early, but he taught me a lot when he was alive. I still have to listen to the words of the elders in the family." Li Hui, Ning Shu did not finish his sentence. It was up to her to explain. Miss Wang felt as if her soul had floated out of her body. She was in an indescribable trance. It was as if a heavy hammer had smashed her head. It was so uncomfortable. In a trance, until Ning Shu bade farewell, Miss Wang was still in a trance. Mississippi, the servant girl was shocked to see her miss in this state. Miss Wang regained her senses. "Do you think young Master Li is such a person?" I don't know." The servant girl almost cried. Her miss had feelings for a scholar. She didn't expect this scholar to be a swindler. Ning Shu walked out of the Wang family's gate and stood at a corner. He opened his mouth and chanted the Clear Heart incantation. The Clear Heart incantation could calm one's heart and clear one's mind. Sometimes, when one was angry, sad, or in extreme emotions, the decision one made was almost 100% wrong. Miss Wang, who was in the house, heard a sound that cleared her agitated and pained heart. She sighed and said, "When should I go see young Master Li again?" The servant girl's hand trembled. Master and Madam knew about her miss. If Madam knew that her miss was going out again, she would definitely be punished. But her miss's decision wasn't something a servant like her could decide. She was afraid that young Master Li would get angry and attack her miss, sullying her innocence. The servant girl's heart beat faster the more she thought about it. She felt that something was going to happen. She quickly ran to tell Madam about what happened today. When Madam Wang heard this, she was furious. But she quickly calmed down. She told her husband to let her daughter go see that scholar. There would be some servants following behind to protect her daughter. It was impossible not to let her daughter give up. What was this? He wanted to take all of them. Chapter 2089. The Wang family pretended not to know that their daughter was going out to look for a poor scholar. They watched as their daughter sneaked out. Old Master Wang's expression was not good. This kind of meeting was not polite. If the man wanted to do something, what would his daughter do? Moreover, it seemed like she was going to lay her cards on the table. What if the other party got angry? Insulting a girl's innocence was something that could be done in one fell swoop. Li Hui was thinking of a way to meet Miss Wang. When he saw Miss Wang, he was very happy. However, when he saw Miss Wang's serious face, there was no smile at all. Miss Wang was a very kind person. She always smiled when she met people. She looked very gentle and virtuous. Li Hui had never seen such a cold face before. Suddenly, Li Hui had a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be that she knew about Wenhua? During this period of time, Wenhua hadn't appeared. What happened on the night of the Lantern Festival was like an illusion. Wenhua had been in the mountains all this time. But when he saw Miss Wang like this, Li Hui instantly thought that Wenhua must have told Miss Wang. That woman was very scheming. She didn't say anything but secretly did bad things behind his back. Miss Wang asked directly, "Are you married?" Li Hui was stunned. "When did I have a marriage partner?" "You can ask my elder brother if I have a marriage partner. You can also ask the village where I live. I don't have a marriage partner." Miss Wang was suspicious. But someone said that you are already married. Ning Shu propped her face up with both hands and grinned silently. She liked the way Li Hui lied, especially when he swore. He liked to see the purple energy on Li Hui's head peel away bit by bit. Miss Wang asked again, "Then what about Miss Wenhua? She said that you are already married. Also, you said that she would accompany you to the capital to take the exam. You even promised that she would be your only wife." It was indeed this woman. Li Hui cursed in his heart. However, he still had some doubts on his face. "Who is Wenhua?" Ning Shu smiled even more happily. "You really don't know. Also, she said that everything was a test for you." Miss Wang frowned and looked at Li Hui seriously. Li Hui's expression turned sinister. Since it was a test, why didn't she say it? Wenhua was a bad woman. However, Li Hui also knew that he might not pass the test at all, so he still had to catch the woman in front of him. Li Hui shook his head and said, "If you're talking about the hunter's daughter, I know her. She went out and got lost, so I brought her back. I think she's a little crazy. Some things are just her imagination." "Crazy?" Miss Wang's brows furrowed even tighter. That young lady didn't look like she was going crazy. Furthermore, if she really treated Li Hui as her husband, she should have gone crazy when she saw her. Why was she so calm? A lunatic could not be provoked. She was not a lunatic. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui with a look of disdain. If she had really lost her mind, she would have directly killed Li Hui, and not be unable to do anything even if she wanted to. "I've never thought of marrying anyone else. The only person I want to marry is you," Li Hui said. Ning Shu smiled. Seeing that 3 strands of purple hair had been removed from Li Hui's head, she felt great. She calmly looked at the person who had once sworn to her, and now he was swearing to someone else. When Miss Wang heard this, she felt a little embarrassed and a little puzzled. There were many things that could not be explained. Miss Wang looked at Li Hui's waist. There was a jade pendant there. She heard that it was given to him by that woman, and now it had been pawned. Miss Wang asked, "Did that woman give you the clothes you're wearing?" Li Hui, "Fuck, that's too embarrassing." Li Hui's face turned green and white. He hurriedly denied it. "No, this is the money that the organizer would give me when I participate in poetry recitals. I saved it up and bought this." As for something like the jade pendant, Li Hui laughed bitterly. "Do you think that with my situation I can have something like a jade pendant? Back then I sent a lost hunter's daughter home, but for some reason she decided on me." In other words, that woman had lied. Miss Wang did not know if she could believe Li Hui. Furthermore, that woman did not look like a hunter's daughter. She was wearing brocade clothes, and her temperament did not seem like that of an ordinary family. How could she be a hunter's daughter? Li Hui had lied. Miss Wang's expression did not change at all. This made Li Hui feel hatred in his heart. He reached out and grabbed Miss Wang's hand. "You have to believe me. I have nothing to do with that hunter's daughter. At most, I was just sending her home. Don't be fooled by how normal she usually looks. You don't know when she will go crazy. Furthermore, her parents are no longer around. She doesn't have any siblings. With such a fate of being a jinx, I can't marry her, right? The only person I want to marry in this life is you. Only you in this life." Miss Wang's expression softened a little. She said, "But she keeps pestering you. It's also a troublesome matter. That's why I have to go to the capital as soon as possible for the exam. Otherwise, if this woman goes crazy, who knows what will happen?" Li Hui said worriedly, "It's really hard to be a good person. I just saved someone in passing, but that person stuck to me." Sigh. Ning Shu was not angry at all. He looked at Li Hui and sighed. Li Hui was probably the most shameless person he had ever seen. Ning Shu felt that he was not as thick-skinned as him. He was so good at lying. No wonder he was able to become an official. The most untrustworthy words in the world were the words of politicians. Li Hui cursed and swore to Miss Wang. He barely managed to coax her. After all, people still revered God. No one would curse themselves so viciously. Miss Wang suppressed the doubts in her heart and left. Ning Shu watched as the purple aura above Li Hui's head was drawn away bit by bit. The purple aura on Li Hui's body was very faint. Li Hui's luck was almost finished. He did not know how many times he had swore to Ning Shu. Now that Miss Wang suspected him, he swore to Miss Wang again. Every time he swore, a trace of his luck would be taken away. Miss Wang probably did not expect Li Hui to swear as if he was eating a meal. He had a purely indifferent attitude. After all, there was no retribution for swearing. Li Hui also let go of the apprehension in his heart. Miss Wang returned home. In the end, she met Ning Shu outside her backyard. When she saw Ning Shu, Miss Wang was a little uncomfortable. However, she still greeted Ning Shu. Miss Hua. Ning Shu returned the greeting. You went to see Li Hui. Li Hui will definitely say that I'm lying. Chapter 2090. When Miss Wang faced Ning Shu, she felt a little guilty. Ning Shu ignored Miss Wang's strange gaze. Did he say that I'm a liar and a lunatic? When Miss Wang heard this, she was dazed for a moment. Her eyes were filled with surprise. How did this woman know? Ning Shu stared into Miss Wang's eyes and said with a bewitching voice, Then do you think Li Hui's words are correct? Miss Wang felt that the other party's eyes were like a bottomless abyss. It was extremely dark, as though her entire person had sunk into the abyss. Miss Wang muttered, I don't know. There were some things that she chose to ignore, but that didn't mean that she didn't have any doubts. Ning Shu's gaze deepened. I was the one who got to know Li Hui first. I spent many days in the mountains. Miss Wang bit her lips. She didn't know what to feel. When she came back to her senses, the other party had already disappeared. She stood alone at the back door. Miss Wang hurried in. However, when she slept that night, she had one dream after another. In the dream, she was in a thatched hut in the mountains. It was Li Hui and that young lady. Listening to Li Hui swear to that young lady, every scene was incomparably clear. It was as if she was standing by the side and watching the two of them. Furthermore, every word that Li Hui said seemed to be smashing into her heart. When Miss Wang woke up, she gasped for air. She looked dispirited and listless. In the end, she let out a bitter laugh. The maid who was on night watch heard the commotion. When she saw the young lady get up, she quickly poured water for Miss Wang. Miss Wang drank some water and asked the maid, How much money do I have now? The maid thought for a moment and said, About 30 taels. Miss, why are you asking this? Miss Wang thought for a moment and said, Tomorrow, send 10 taels of silver to young Master Li. Tell him that this is to help him. I hope that he can enter high school and find a wife that he likes. 10 taels of silver was more or less used to send Li Hui away. Now, Miss Wang didn't want to have anything to do with Li Hui. She gave him 10 taels of silver because she admired his talent and felt that he could enter high school. Then she gave him 10 taels of silver. In the end, she had nothing to do with him. The young maidservant hurriedly asked, Miss, is this considered a private affair? If Master and Madam were to find out, how would this servant explain it to Master and Madam? After all, this was an era where women's chastity was highly valued. There were even women who chose to chop off their hands because they were touched by men, and society was still singing praises of them. Miss Wang. His head hurt. The servant girl looked at Miss Wang as if she wanted to say something. Miss Wang knew her servant girl well and asked, If you have something to say, just say it. That's right, Master and Madam already know that young Miss is in contact with young Master Li, but Master said to let young Miss make the decision yourself. When you went to see young Master Li, Master and Madam even let the servants follow you. The little maid said. Miss Wang was stunned for a moment. She felt that she had been hiding and sneaking around, but in the end she was under the noses of her parents. This feeling was shameful and ashamed. I was too reckless. Miss Wang felt that she should discuss this matter with her parents. The other party must have come for the money, but when Master Wang saw that his daughter was enlightened, he was delighted. This was right. Parents' orders and matchmakers' words had always been like this since ancient times. Without parents' orders, no one would have a good ending. If you don't listen to your elders, you will suffer. Master Wang was also afraid that this person would come back to take revenge, so he directly gave him 10 taels of silver as a way to avoid trouble. When the servant sent the 10 taels of silver to the inn, Li Hui's expression was like he was struck by lightning. What was going on? Weren't they talking nicely before? Why did they become so heartless after one night? Li Hui, who felt that he was betrayed, ran to the Wang family to make a fuss, but he was directly thrown out. Miss Wang said that she only felt that Li Hui's poem was not bad. Feeling the mocking gazes around him, Li Hui was furious, but he silently swallowed his anger. Li Hui's appearance made Master Wang frown. It's fine if this brat doesn't rise to fame, but if he does, then those who have a grudge with him will suffer. Let's see if he can fly to the sky. If he really flies to the sky, then we should move. Master, it can't be that bad. This brat cheated our Gulan. Not only did we not settle the score with him, we even helped him. Does he have to be so vengeful? Madame Wang couldn't help but be puzzled. Some people only remember what others did to them, but not what they did to others. Master Wang sighed, looking at Li Hui's back. Li Hui was simply about to explode in anger. There was clearly nothing strange before, but after one night, he changed his mind? The thing that Li Hui had been worried about had happened. He really capsized. Li Hui looked at the ingot of silver on the table. 10 taels of silver, it was no different from sending a beggar away. He didn't even have time to read and just dealt with Miss Wang. In the end, he received 10 taels of silver. The invisible Ning Shu looked at Li Hui's appearance and couldn't help but laugh. 10 taels of silver was too little. Generally speaking, an ordinary farmer's crop, after deducting the exorbitant taxes, would not have 10 taels of silver. Ning Shu seriously suspected that Li Hui wanted to bring a few hundred taels of silver to the capital to take the imperial exam. Li Hui's heart was unsatisfied. He cursed Miss Wang and also cursed Ning Shu. Moreover, Ning Shu did not appear and directly caused trouble behind his back, making Li Hui gnash his teeth in anger. It was just that she appeared that night, and that woman didn't appear again. This made the hair on Li Hui's back stand up. That woman couldn't be holding back some big move and waiting for him, right? She really was a jealous woman who did not have a mother to teach her. How did he provoke such a woman? If he had met the gentle and knowledgeable Miss Wang first, then this kind of thing would not have happened. For a moment, Li Hui hated Ning Shu and was angry that he did not control himself and made a promise to Ning Shu first. Li Hui packed up his things and prepared to go home. As soon as he got home, he ignored his sister-in-law's ugly expression and went into the mountains to find Ning Shu. Seeing Ning Shu drying the herbs, Li Hui angrily walked over and asked, "What do you want?" Ning Shu said with his hands behind his back, "My father was right. Men are fickle. You just made a promise to me, and now you make another promise to another woman. You have already made an oath. Are you not afraid of being struck by lightning and receiving retribution?" Ning Shu clearly heard a boom in his ear, but he did not know if the sound was directed at Ning Shu or Li Hui. But Li Hui did not hear the thunder at all. With a cold face he said, "I need money to take the imperial exam." "If you need money, why don't you just tell me?" Li Hui did not mention anything about money in front of Ning Shu. Even if he did, it was to make use of feelings. Chapter 2091. If you don't tell me, how would I know what you want? Do you really think that I can read your mind? You want both face and money. He was hoping that the other party would take the initiative to mention it. It would be best if the family's things were all his. So for money, you lied to other girls? Ning Shu asked in surprise. "I didn't lie to anyone. Miss Wang and I are just acquaintances. She just admired my poem and the Wang family even sponsored me with 10 taels of silver." Li Hui said as he took out an ingot of silver. Sometimes, Ning Shu really admired Li Hui's ability to lie without batting an eyelid. This wasn't just being shameless, it was being shameless. In front of Miss Wang, he said that he had nothing to do with the girl from the Hunter family. In front of Ning Shu, he said that he and Miss Wang were just acquaintances. On the night of the Lantern Festival, he invited her to compose a poem together. Ning Shu, Li Hui had no bottom line at all. The people who were targeted by Li Hui were really pitiful. It wasn't wrong for them to end up like that. This was Li Hui's way of doing things. Ning Shu felt that his bottom line was being refreshed by Li Hui again and again. Ning Shu felt that Li Hui met all kinds of scumbags. There were affectionate scumbags who, other than the person they loved, would casually trample on others. They were either mommy's babies who didn't have any sense of responsibility, or they were stallions who didn't reject anyone, or they were psychopaths, or they were soft rice men who righteously ate and drank from others. Li Hui should be the enhanced version of the soft rice man 20. Being able to righteously make others feel wronged was also a skill. Li Hui glanced at Ning Shu. Tell me, how can I ask you for money? If I open my mouth, you will think that I'm here for your money. If you listen to your father, what can I do? I'm also in despair. So you're saying that it's my fault? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. It's not your fault, it's my fault. I want to give you the best. I want you to become the wife of the top scholar. But a penny can't stump a hero. I can't increase the burden of the family anymore. Li Hui said with a clear conscience. If Ning Shu hadn't seen with his own eyes how Li Hui held Miss Wang's hand and swore to the heavens, he wouldn't have believed it. Why didn't you look for me when you came to town? Li Hui asked. That night, she had only appeared for a brief moment, and then disappeared. Why didn't she get lost? Ning Shu chuckled and continued to dry the herbs, completely ignoring Li Hui. Ning Shu directly said, I won't tolerate a person who deceives me. I don't look like a fool. I'm moving, don't come looking for me in the future. Li Hui's face suddenly became ugly. He wanted to grab Ning Shu's hand, but Ning Shu dodged, causing Li Hui to miss. Li Hui's expression was very ugly. Miss Wang had bragged and then gave some money to the beggar. If he bragged again, he wouldn't have enough money to go to the capital to take the exam. Li Hui hurriedly apologized. I know that I'm a little close to Miss Wang, but I'm innocent with her. I can swear to the heavens that Miss Wang and I are innocent. I don't have any improper thoughts about her. If I have any thoughts about you, may I be struck by lightning. Thumbu. Several continuous sounds of thunder exploded in Ning Shu's ears like bombs. It was quite frightening. Ning Shu felt as if his soul was about to be shattered. A cloud of purple energy above Li Hui's head was sucked away. What was left was so purple that Ning Shu couldn't see it anymore. Almost all of Li Hui's purple luck had been sucked away. Li Hui didn't seem to hear the thunder. His expression was still normal. Ning Shu's heart was really fucked. Why did he let Li Hui hear his warning? Ning Shu smiled and said, I don't believe you. You made so many vows, but you didn't do any of them. Don't you feel guilty? I'm sincere. Why would I feel guilty? Wenhua, I don't know what hurt you to make you avoid men like this, but I really like you. I want to marry you, have children, and grow old together. Li Hui didn't think there was anything wrong with him. He just felt that Ning Shu was like this under his father's guidance. It was really annoying. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be able to marry such a woman. Ning Shu chuckled. My father said that a man's heart can't help but be tested. It's true. You should leave. Li Hui, he must be crazy. He had never seen such a woman. Could she be as educated and reasonable as the young miss of the Wang family? And it was all because of this woman that the young miss of the Wang family stayed away from him. Li Hui felt that as a man, he couldn't stand being teased by such a woman. It was almost the same as coaxing an ancestor. She was still so dissatisfied. Go to heaven. There's no place for you in this world. Li Hui left directly because he wanted to give Ning Shu the cold shoulder. In the end, not long after he reached the mountain, he saw that the thatched hut was already abandoned. There was nothing left. There were spiders inside. The expensive furniture was gone. Li Hui was stunned. He thought that she was just joking. After all, no matter how angry a woman was, she still made a fuss in the end to test her position in a man's heart. In the end, she still compromised. Therefore, facing the empty house, Li Hui stood there in a daze for a long time. He couldn't believe it. In other words, the gold ingot that she had thought had flown away and disappeared? Li Hui's heart was filled with all kinds of complicated feelings. It was impossible. How could that woman be so heartless and leave? She was playing with me. Angry and frightened, Li Hui thought that he didn't have enough money to go to the capital for the exam. In the end, Li Hui stumbled back home. Before he reached the door, he saw so many people in front of his house. Li Hui walked in and heard that it was a pot-bellied landlord who came to his house. He said that he was willing to marry his daughter to him. When Li Hui heard this, he was so angry that he took a broom and chased him away. Marrying such a stupid woman was simply a disgrace. Was she as beautiful as Wenhua? Was he as educated and reasonable as the young miss of the Wang family? He didn't have any. She was like a reincarnated pig. All she knew was to eat and do nothing. What was the point of marrying such a wife? Li Hui directly took the broom and chased him out. He said fiercely that even if he was a bachelor, he wouldn't marry such a woman as his wife. Li Hui's attitude angered the fat landlord to death. However, he didn't dare to be rash. After all, Li Hui was still a scholar and wanted to marry his daughter to such a person. Li Hui thought that even if it was only 60 taels, he would still go to the capital for the exam. With his ability, even if he didn't have money, he would still be able to pass the exam. He wanted to show these people who looked down on him. Chapter 2092. Li Hui felt that if he continued to stay here, all sorts of people would appear. Today, it could be landlord Li or some merchant who was eyeing him and trying to make him their son-in-law. Li Hui wanted his wife to receive a good education. She would be able to work in the hall and cook in the kitchen. She would also be good at chess and calligraphy. She was tactful and polite, and could help him to a certain extent. She was not as stupid as a pig, or she was the daughter of a merchant from a small family. If he married a merchant's daughter and became an official, he would be laughed at by his colleagues. In short, Li Hui thought a lot and had a plan for his life. He knew what he wanted. Li Hui decided to bring 60 taels of silver to the capital. This time, he wanted to become a high scholar. If he could become the top scholar, that would be the best. Li Hui ignored the villagers who were watching the commotion. He also ignored the ugly expression on his wife's face. He immediately went into the house and started to pack his things. In the end, he found out that his money was missing. Li Hui was so angry that his heart was about to explode. Without a doubt, his wife must have stolen the money when he was not around. Take the things out. Li Hui roared at his sister-in-law. What kind of people were these? He had achieved scholarly honors and brought so much glory to this family. Who in the village did not respect him? Even if he wanted to take the exam, it was not impossible for his family to sell the land. However, he did not say it out loud. Of course, selling the land would not make a lot of money, so he did not mention it. These lands were very important to his brother. He tried his best not to burden his family. However, this wife of his did not understand. There was something wrong with her brain. If you don't take it out, I will report it to the officials. His wife's face changed unpredictably. In the end, she took out the things under her husband's scolding. Her face was as painful as if her flesh was being cut. Ning Shu was watching from the side. When he saw that Li Hui was going to take the exam, he looked up at the dark clouds. Yes, I will accompany Li Hui to take the exam. Yes, it is to protect Li Hui. Of course, it is to protect Li Hui. Li Hui took the money and stared at his wife. He then took the bag and left. In the end, his eldest brother gave Li Hui 5 taels of silver, saying that it was the money that he had saved up over the years. Li Hui accepted it without hesitation. He swore in his heart that if he really became a high school student, he would definitely find a good wife for his elder brother in the future, and not such a shallow woman. After Li Hui left, Ning Shu followed Li Hui to town. Li Hui was planning to hire a carriage. When he asked about the price, including the coachman and carriage, it would cost 30 taels of silver. Li Hui decisively gave up. He only had a few dozen taels of silver on him. When he reached the capital, he still needed to eat, drink, and defecate. All of these required money. Li Hui decided to walk to the capital on foot. Li Hui could still bear it for the first 1 or 2 days, but in the end he really couldn't go on. He had to climb over mountains alone, and it was easy for him to get lost. The bitterness of traveling in ancient times was vividly displayed. If he hadn't reached the town, Li Hui would have had no place to stay. He would have had to live in a dilapidated temple. Temples like the city god temple and the earth god temple had been exposed to wind, rain, and sun, causing Li Hui to almost collapse. He even suspected that he wouldn't be able to reach the capital. Ning Shu followed behind Li Hui and transformed into a monk. Begging for alms also helped to cure illnesses and save people. He had herbs in his hands. If the family was really poor, Ning Shu would give them herbs. Sometimes he would also perform rituals to ward off disasters. Even if there were ghosts causing trouble, Ning Shu would be able to purify them. His business was quite complicated, and in the end he even earned money. Ning Shu basically didn't have to worry about food and clothing along the way. Looking at the miserable Li Hui in front of him, Ning Shu only laughed and remained indifferent. She was only here to protect Li Hui. The purple color on Li Hui's head was gone. As for things like talent, ordinary people didn't have any talent at all. Ning Shu felt that if Li Hui went to take the exam this time, he wouldn't be able to pass. Don't underestimate the imperial examination. There were many tests: poetry, calligraphy, rites of the Zhou dynasty, rites of the Book of Rites, spring and autumn, Mencius, the Analects of Confucius, De Shui, and the doctrine of the mean. Sutras and policy questions, poems and essays, scriptures, ink, and poems. The examiners also did their best to come up with some novel questions. They even cut off the beginning and end of a complete sentence, or put together a few sentences that weren't related to each other. They connected the parts that weren't supposed to be connected, just like the moonlight in front of the bed. These kinds of questions were called cut and match questions. They were divided into long matches, short matches, emotional matches, heartless matches, and alternate chapters matches. It was very normal to not be able to pass even if one's hair was white. After eating and drinking for the day, the rest of the time would be spent on memorizing the 4 books and 5 sutras. If one didn't have a photographic memory, it would be too difficult to remember these things. Look at what Li Hui was doing all day. Moreover, he didn't have any luck or talent. How could he pass? Especially when all the talents of the dynasty were gathered together. Along the way, Li Hui suffered a lot. He even met people who wanted to rob him. Li Hui was so scared that his legs went soft. In the end, Ning Shu used the actions of a monk to persuade the robbers to leave. He just kept chanting sutras, asking them to put down their knives and become Buddhas. Of course, he also took action. After that, Li Hui thanked Ning Shu again and again. Ning Shu said that he was going to the capital and he could go with him. Of course, Li Hui couldn't ask for more. With such a monk by his side, he wasn't afraid of gods or ghosts. He could even fight. On the way, Li Hui saw this monk begging for alms and even helping to save people. Some rich people would even give him some incense money. This monk only needed to chant sutras. This money was too easy to earn. Seeing that the monk had a lot of money, Li Hui's eyes flashed and asked, "Master, do you know Master Huiji?" Ning Shu bowed and said respectfully, "Of course I know Master Huiji. He is the most profound monk of us monks. Who doesn't know him?" Ning Shu didn't know why Li Hui suddenly mentioned Huiji. Li Hui said with a smile, "I was lucky enough to go to Wuyo Temple. Master gave me a fortune." Ning Shu's face revealed a look of suspicion. Li Hui looked at Ning Shu's face and suddenly felt uncomfortable in his heart. He said, "The master gave me a fortune and said that I have a life of great wealth. So?" Ning Shu rolled her eyes. Could it be that Li Hui had taken a fancy to the money in her hands? Sometimes, the money given by rich merchants could be as much as 5 to 20 taels. Many little drops make an ocean. It was also a considerable income. Li Hui was envious. He was lucky that he couldn't get money. But this monk just chanted sutras and then he had money. When he mentioned Huiji, the old monk meant that he wanted this monk to help him. Ning Shu couldn't help but curl his lips. Li Hui was subconsciously scheming against everyone. He wanted face and wanted others to take the initiative. The old monk Huiji said that this person had a rich life, but a person's life was not unchanging. Chapter 2093. The times create heroes, but the current Li Hui did not have the fate of being rich. Even if he wanted incense money, he could openly borrow money and say that he would build a golden body for Bodhisattva or donate more incense money. As a benevolent monk, he would definitely give it to him. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui calmly and said, "Forgive this poor monk for being blind. Perhaps in the past the benefactor had the fate of being rich, but now the benefactor is not." Li Hui's tired face turned even uglier. He did not speak to Ning Shu anymore. That was a life given to him by the living Buddha. What would an unknown old monk know? Along the way, Li Hui saw the monk treating patients and applying medicine. There were also some Buddhists who gave him incense money. Li Hui could not imagine how much money this monk had. After walking for about 2 months, they finally reached the capital. Li Hui was both mentally and physically exhausted. He stayed in the cheapest room, but it was still so expensive that it made his heart ache. The capital was very prosperous. Ning Shu came here to beg for alms and gave even more things. However, the poor were poor, while the rich had groups of servants. Ning Shu still had to treat patients and apply medicine while paying attention to the imperial examinations. Many capable scholars gathered together to discuss various matters. In the end, Li Hui could not even get a word in. These people had their own circles. With Li Hui's situation, it was not easy for him to integrate into these people. Furthermore, Li Hui realized that his mind was a little chaotic. There were many things that he could not remember. This made Li Hui very alarmed. There was less than a month to the imperial examinations. In the end, his mind was completely blank. It was too terrifying. Hence, Li Hui began to read during the day and stay up late at night. He hoped that he could revise these things before the examinations. If not, he would feel uneasy. The others invited their friends to wander around. Li Hui was extremely hardworking. Anyone who saw him could not help but say that he was hardworking. However, some people snorted at him. After studying hard for 10 years, this was not a big deal. The most important thing now was to adjust his state of mind and recuperate. After all, he would be in the examination hall for a few days. Ning Shu occasionally came to visit Li Hui, but Li Hui didn't have a good attitude towards Ning Shu. After all, people would feel unhappy if they were rejected. He was clearly destined to be rich and powerful, but this old monk said that he was ordinary. Who would be happy? Especially at a time like this old monk was too damn annoying. He didn't know if it was because of the old monk's influence, but Li Hui felt that his mind was in a mess. He didn't feel good at all. How could he go to the examination hall in this state? It wasn't until Li Hui entered the narrow room that he realized he was sitting in the examination hall. However, when Li Hui looked at these test papers, his mind went blank. It was really blank. During this period of time, he had been revising, but there was no specific content in his mind. He knew all the words, but he didn't understand what was going on when they were connected. He was clearly the best at this, but why was his mind blank now? But Li Hui was impatient. He grabbed his hair and his eyes were red. He almost tore the things in front of him apart. Li Hui forced himself to calm down. He ground the ink and began to answer the questions. However, it was useless because his brain was extremely slow. What was going on? Ning Shu waited outside. When he saw Li Hui come out, his hair was messy and his body stank. This would continue for a few days. Li Hui returned to the inn in a daze. He lay on the bed and banged his head against the wall. The next few days were like this. It made Li Hui nearly go crazy. Being locked in a small space, Li Hui nearly went crazy. He didn't do many of the questions. He was in a daze when it came to policy, poetry, and so on. Ning Shu knew that Li Hui wouldn't make it this time. After a few days of exams, Li Hui had lost a lot of weight. Li Hui slept for a day and then waited with difficulty for the results to be released. Even though Li Hui knew that he might not make it, he still had a tiny bit of hope in his heart. What if he made it? What if he made it? A few days later, it was time for the results to be released. The front of the list was crowded with people. Li Hui squeezed his way through and saw that his name wasn't on the list. He felt that it was normal, but at the same time, he felt pain. The tiny bit of hope in his heart was gone. He had spent the money and gained nothing. He wanted to return home in glory, but in the end, he didn't even make it to the bottom. Li Hui was in a daze. It was as if he had lost his soul. Looking at the top 3 scholars parading through the streets, Li Hui felt that the one riding at the front should be him. He wore the scholar's robe and wore a red flower on his head. He received the reverent gazes of the people. One by one, sachets and flowers were thrown at him. The eyes of the women looking at him were shy and timid. There was love and longing. This was supposed to be his glory. This feeling made him crazy. He directly rushed towards the scholar, but he was stopped by the guards who were maintaining order. Li Hui lost control and shouted, "This should be mine. The scholar is mine. It's mine." Li Hui's actions caused a commotion. This scene was similar to Fan Jin's craziness when he became a scholar. Li Hui didn't go crazy because he became a scholar, but because he failed. However, Li Hui's actions didn't cause any waves. He was just a scholar who lost his mind. He was even treated as a joke for a while. After all, he cried and said that he was the scholar. It was really a joke. Many people looked at Li Hui with a playful gaze. Their eyes were filled with mockery and laughter. When Li Hui woke up and saw the way people looked at him, he immediately packed his things and went home. When he returned home, he didn't feel like he was returning home in glory. However, everyone advised Li Hui that he was still young. The village chief said that he wanted to set up a school and let Li Hui teach. Every month, the students would have to pay their tuition. As the village's scholar, Li Hui had a high social status. Li Hui was very unhappy. What did they mean by letting him teach students? Did they think that he wouldn't be able to pass the examinations? Only those who didn't want to continue taking the imperial examinations would open private schools to teach and enlighten their children. Those enlightening books which said that a person's nature was good at birth wouldn't have the effect of revisiting the old and learning the new. Thus, they wouldn't have the time to read books. Li Hui directly rejected the village chief's suggestion. When he returned home, he ignored his brother's worried expression and went to sleep. The next day, he went to the mountains. He thought that he would see Wen Hua reappear here. However, the house had already collapsed. Did that woman really leave just like that? Li Hui had never seen such a heartless woman. She didn't have any reluctance and left just like that. It was infuriating. Chapter 2094. Li Hui came out of the mountains and went to the town to inquire about the Wang family. In the end, he was told that the Wang family's young miss had already been betrothed to someone and was already married. In just 3 or 4 months, she was already married? This was too rushed. Could it be that she was in such a hurry to get married because she wanted to avoid him? Li Hui felt dizzy. He felt that his whole body was not good. These 2 women did not have noble status. In the past, he did not even care about them and felt that he deserved better. But this time, after going to the capital for the imperial examinations, Li Hui felt that his mind had become even more muddled. The things that were engraved in his mind in the past were now blurred. Furthermore, his thinking ability was not as good as before. His brain was not as fast as it used to be. From a top student to a bottom student, his comprehension ability had decreased by a lot. Li Hui felt that he had reached the end of his road as an elementary scholar. He had lost his ability. Li Hui felt that these 2 women were not bad. But one of them actually ran away and got married. Were they really so afraid of being associated with him? Li Hui's heart was filled with hatred. These women were really evil. They were all teasing him. Otherwise, why would such a situation occur? One said that she wanted to test him. The other was indifferent to his promise. She said that she would get married. Furthermore, it was during his imperial examinations. Because of this, Li Hui was depressed for a period of time. The invisible Ning Shu had always been by Li Hui's side. Seeing Li Hui's situation, Ning Shu was very happy. This was because Li Hui could no longer make a comeback. It was impossible for him to become a high official. Even if he had the title of an elementary scholar, to the proud and arrogant Li Hui, if he did not become the top scholar and did not marry the daughter of an aristocratic family, his life would not be perfect. Li Hui felt that he was different from the rest. In the future, he would definitely achieve great things. He would be rich and have a beautiful wife. He would be respected by everyone. Li Hui could not bear to live such a miserable life. Li Hui did not know how to copy books to earn money or write letters to his family. After all, doing such things did not suit his status at all. He had already spent all of Li Hui's money on this trip to the capital. Now he was really poor. He had no choice but to agree to teach the children in the village. The problem was that the oldest children in the village were 10 years old and the youngest were 5 or 6 years old. They were all like mud monkeys, climbing trees and going into the river. In any case, they couldn't sit still. Li Hui was about to die from anger. Moreover, Li Hui discovered that his brain was becoming more and more sluggish. In the past, he could understand scriptures and policy theories, but now there were many things he didn't understand. Sometimes he would be stumped by the devilish brat's questions and have no way of answering them. Damn it. Sometimes, when Li Hui was angry, he would hit a student. In the end, the child's family would come looking for him and say that if he hit the child too hard, who would be responsible if the child was crippled? Li Hui, as an elementary scholar, it was a waste of talent for him to teach these people, yet he still dared to look down on them. In a fit of anger, Li Hui stopped teaching. When he had nothing to do, he would stroll around the town. Occasionally, he would compose some poems to attract some people. Li Hui wanted to attract people like Miss Wang who appreciated his talent and could support him in taking the imperial examinations. It wasn't easy for a poor family to produce a noble son. However, Li Hui no longer had the talent to compose poems. His purple aura and talent had been sucked away. Being an official was his only chance to turn things around, but it was clear that Li Hui no longer had the talent. Li Hui felt bitter in his heart. What was this? Could this be his punishment? Li Hui sighed in despair. Every day, he would eat pickled vegetables and coarse noodles. It really made Li Hui break down and break down. He was an elementary scholar, yet he didn't have the money to support himself. Li Hui often went deep into the mountains just to see if the girl who was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as a mountain spirit was still around. In the end, all the thatched huts collapsed and that girl disappeared. She tortured him until he didn't want to and then disappeared. Couldn't she be more shameless? Li Hui felt that his life was too bitter. His sister-in-law was becoming more and more stingy. She didn't put any meat or oil in the dishes at home, and they didn't even have any noodles to eat. Flour was an expensive thing. No matter how bitter it was in the capital, he still had noodles to eat for every meal. Furthermore, he ate all sorts of delicacies in the mountains. How could he eat all these now? He really wanted to eat pork trotters, roast duck, red dates, and bird's nest soup. Were these things really meant for humans to eat? Li Hui tried to persuade his brother to prepare some good food. His brother's face was bitter. He said that all the money saved at home had been given to Li Hui to take the imperial examinations. Li Hui, Ning Shu, who was watching from the side, was about to die of laughter. Li Hui was picky with his food and couldn't eat the food at home. In the future, Li Hui would have to suffer. Li Hui was someone who wasn't used to living a bitter life. What surprised Ning Shu the most was that Li Hui would often go to the landlord's house. Sometimes, he would even meet the landlord's chubby daughter. She was always holding food in her hands. When she saw Li Hui, she would stuff her food to him. Li Hui frowned and didn't want it. He couldn't bear to look at the chubby girl. However, he still accepted the food from the landlord's daughter. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui's sullen expression with his hands behind his back. He probably wanted to flirt with the landlord's daughter, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He really felt wronged. Previously, it wasn't that he didn't like her. Now that there was no one else, he wanted the landlord's daughter just to have a mouthful of good food. Ning Shu just wanted to laugh. So, Li Hui wasn't someone who would rather break than bend. He was used to looking for backup plans. If he had a foot in several boats, he had to be prepared to capsize. Under Ning Shu's attention, Li Hui and the landlord's daughter's relationship was like a rocket. Li Hui endured the sullenness and flirted with the landlord's daughter. Sometimes, when she was shy, the landlord's daughter would pinch Li Hui's waist. It was so painful that Li Hui's face turned pale. The other party was fat and didn't know how to control her strength. This made Li Hui feel very sullen. He didn't want to have any contact with the landlord's daughter. No matter how poor he was at least a scholar. his family could be exempted from taxes. Although he couldn't get subsidies from the imperial court, he could still be exempted from taxes. Don't think that he didn't know what the landlord was thinking. He wanted to marry his daughter to him. He wanted to let his family's land be exempted from taxes. The chubby girl probably knew that she had angered her scholar brother. Every day, she would give Li Hui delicious food from home. Today, it would be crystal pork knuckle. Tomorrow, it would be braised pork. All kinds of delicious pastries. Li Hui ate and drank, but he still ignored her. In the end, the landlord came and said that she wanted Li Hui to marry into her family. Li Hui, get lost, get lost, get lost. Marry into her family. Li Hui's brother also didn't agree to his brother marrying into her family. Chapter 2095. It wasn't easy for the family to have someone who was an official, but now she wanted to marry into someone else's family. What's more, if Li Hui really married into the Li family, he would no longer be part of the Li family and would have to pay taxes for his family's land. Li Hui felt that marrying an illiterate woman who looked like a pig was already an insult. Now she wanted him to marry into the Li family? Did she think that he was easy to bully? Li Hui was adamant about not marrying into the Li family. In the end, the landlord gave in and allowed his daughter to marry into the Li family with a large dowry. Li Hui reluctantly agreed. Thinking about how the fat woman was so subservient to him, he felt that even after they got married, he could still hold his daughter in the palm of his hand. The news that Li Xiaocai was going to marry the landlord's daughter spread like a gust of wind through the village. Ning Shu sat by the door with his chin in his hands, watching the lively wedding. The bride was about 2.5 times Li Hui's size. Ning Shu watched the two of them get married because the landlord's daughter looked like she was big-hearted and chubby. However, she was an unruly girl who loved to eat and was very protective of her food. Li Hui wouldn't be able to get anything out of her. Furthermore, the landlord's daughter knew that she wouldn't be able to marry into a good family. Now that there was a scholar who wanted to marry her, of course she had to grab hold of him. Furthermore, her parents had said that she had to have the financial power in her hands. Otherwise, the man would have to go out and spend his time with beautiful women. During the wedding night, Ning Shu couldn't bear to look at it. Li Hui was probably going to suffocate when he thought of a fat woman lying on top of him. Ning Shu chuckled. Everything had its vanquisher. The landlord's daughter didn't hide her character and always considered herself to be his wife. She was his wife and it was only right and proper. Even though Li Hui told the landlord's daughter that women should be virtuous and virtuous, he was still a scholar who couldn't reason with a soldier. She didn't even care about him and wouldn't give him anything to eat. Everyone in the village knew that Li Xiaocai was henpecked and would sometimes get beaten by his wife. This made Li Hui want to divorce her more than once. In the end, the two of them got into a fight. Furthermore, she was the landlord's daughter. How could he divorce her so easily? Li Hui thumped his chest and stamped his feet in regret. Why did he have to marry such a shrew? Li Hui did not have the physique of a landlord's daughter. The difference in physical strength between men and women did not exist at all between the two of them. They were evenly matched. Li Hui was often beaten until he covered his head and fled like a rat. Since he couldn't afford to offend or hide, Li Hui wanted to get some money from his wife, saying that he wanted to go to the capital to take the exam. However, the landowner's daughter widened her eyes and was extremely vigilant. She thought that Li Hui wanted money and went to find a vixen. She held the money tightly. She also knew that she wasn't beautiful enough. All men liked beautiful women, so she had to listen to her mother and control him. Li Hui was so angry that he almost vomited blood. This was related to his future and he actually didn't want to pay. Li Hui could only use the title of the top scholar's wife to tempt his wife. The landlord's daughter was pleasantly surprised at first. It would be even better if she could become the top scholar's wife. However, she had to follow along, otherwise, her man would be taken away by some vixen. When Li Hui heard that his wife wanted to go with him, if people knew that she was his wife, he would be laughed to death. He was already the joke of the village and did not want to lose face so far away. Li Hui knew that he didn't pass the exam and only wanted to deduct some money from her. For example, he wanted to buy ink, paper, inkstone, books and so on. He wanted to borrow some money to go out and have fun. In the end, she still wanted to buy it with him. Li Hui. What made Li Hui feel even more humiliated was that every time they had sex, it was half-forced. A huge lump was pressing on his body and the bed was about to fall apart. As for the landlord's daughter, she seemed to have discovered a kind of pleasure. Other than eating, she had another hobby. However, it made Li Hui's face turn green. It was extremely uncomfortable. Although there was delicious food, although there were crystal pork trotters, red braised pork and pastries, the mental torture was very painful. Ning Shu saw that there was no longer a bit of purple luck on Li Hui's head. He was restrained by his wife. Moreover, because Li Hui's wife was too fat, she had fertility problems. If Li Hui did not take in concubines, he might not have any descendants. Ning Shu smiled slightly. Li Hui no longer had purple luck. Not only did he not have purple luck, there was also a trace of black energy. From now on, dark clouds covered his head. How bad? He once pointed to the sky and swore to these two women that he would only marry one in his life. In the end, he did not marry either of them. He married another woman. Li Hui was more unlucky. Wherever he went, he would be unlucky. If he did not break his leg, he would be bitten by dogs. For some reason, these dogs chased after Li Hui and bit him. Anyway, he had no chance to rise up again. Now that he had a wife who was so protective of him, Li Hui's future days would be difficult. After transforming into a monk, Ning Shu returned to the Wuyu Temple. When he met someone who needed treatment, he would help. He walked to the entrance of the Wuyu Temple and transformed into Tao Yao. Ning Shu went straight to the door of Huiji's meditation room and said, "Master, I am back." Then, Ning Shu heard some rustling sounds. "Why did you bring back such a vicious aura?" The old monk Huiji opened the door of the meditation room and saw Ning Shu. His long eyebrows twitched. Ning Shu spun around. "What evil energy? I went down the mountain to do a good deed." Huiji started to chant. Ning Shu felt a Buddhist aura merge into his body and it felt really warm. "What did you do?" Huiji asked calmly. Ning Shu said, "I went to solve some things. In the future, I will follow you to study Buddhism." Huiji looked at Ning Shu and didn't say anything. Ning Shu opened his bag and there were some silver and silver ingots. "Master, look." "You stole it?" Huiji asked. Ning Shu said right away, "Do I look like that kind of person? I begged for donations and they gave me money. Even if you don't believe in my character, you have to believe in Buddhism. I didn't break the precepts." Ning Shu said. Huiji nodded. "Not bad. It's good that you didn't steal it." Ning Shu was speechless. His expectations for her were really low. "Did you harm anyone?" Huiji looked at Ning Shu and asked. Ning Shu shrugged and said, "I didn't harm anyone. It's just that some bad people have their retribution. I am a Buddhist disciple and I didn't kill anyone." "No wonder you have evil energy. Cultivate in the temple and don't go outside," Huiji said. Ning Shu nodded right away. "I will listen to you. I bought some meat buns for you." Ning Shu took out the meat buns. "Huiji, if you like it, you can keep it for yourself," Huiji said calmly. Ning Shu took a bite of the meat bun and said, "I am just coaxing you. This is a vegetable bun, not meat. One more." Chapter 2096. You can keep it for yourself. Huiji touched the prayer beads and looked at the steamed bun helplessly. "Don't go out during this period of time. Study Buddhism and get rid of the hostility in your personality." Ning Shu shrugged. Getting rid of the hostility? Was he going to turn her into a little white rabbit? How was she going to complete the mission if she became a silly sweet girl? Perhaps some aspects of her were hostile to the old monk, but this was a characteristic that she could protect herself. No matter how the old monk Huiji tried, he could not convert him. If this method could be used to convert people, then there would not be so many people who would want to counterattack. This kind of simple chanting could not solve the problem. There was no such thing as repaying evil with good. Without experiencing it personally, one would not understand the pain. Ning Shu chewed on the steamed bun and said with a smile, "Okay, disciple will follow master and study Buddhism and become a master." Perhaps it was better to let Tao Yao, who was naturally bathed in Buddhism, study Buddhism. As for her, it was a little difficult, but she respected faith. "You've eaten the steamed bun. Let's go out." Eating steamed buns in his meditation room was really. Ning Shu nodded and prepared to take the money. Ning Shu was not sure if she would stay in Wuyo Temple forever. After all, she still had to go out to find the world source. Ning Shu really did not want to beg for alms with such a bowl. She also wanted to go on a trip. Huiji said, "You want to take the incense money that the pilgrims gave to the temple?" Ning Shu said, "I'm begging for alms." The disciples of the temple went out to beg for alms. Other than food, everything else was brought back to the temple, Huiji said. Ning Shu was speechless. This was going to be confiscated. Ning Shu felt anxious without money in her hands. She struggled desperately. "Do I have to hand it all over?" Huiji nodded. Ning Shu angrily took away all the steamed buns, not leaving a single one for the old monk Huiji. She begged for alms, but he didn't leave her a single copper coin. Huiji chanted Amitabha. "Don't be so obsessed with money that you can't extricate yourself from it. These things can't be brought with you when you're born, and you can't take them with you when you die." Ning Shu almost rolled his eyes. "Then why does the temple collect money for incense?" Huiji said, "That's to let those who are lost have a sense of belonging." So many people needed to eat. Ning Shu was really caught off guard and was fed chicken soup. He turned around and left. In the following days, Ning Shu was no different from a monk in a monastery. Every day, he would wake up early in the morning to do morning prayers. After 3 meals a day, Huiji called Ning Shu over to talk about Buddhist scriptures. It was as if he wanted to pour all the Buddhist scriptures into her mind. When there was nothing to do, Ning Shu would run to the back of the mountain, pick the big peaches on his body, and sit on a tree branch to eat. Wuyu Temple was surrounded by mountains and forests. Wuyu Temple was lucky that it wasn't attacked by wild beasts. Even if there were any wild beasts, they wouldn't dare to barge into the peaceful land of Buddhism. Ning Shu walked further and further. He wanted to see if there was any world's origin. So irritating. He still hadn't found the world's origin. He didn't know if it was Ning Shu's misperception, but Ning Shu felt that the last world's origin was really damn hard to find. However, when he was still a beginner and advanced mission enforcer, he didn't find the world's origin when he was doing missions. He also didn't subconsciously want to find the world's origin. Ning Shu chewed on the peaches and walked in the mountain forest. He saw a carrot that was white and tender. It had 2 leaves on its head and a red string tied around its body. Carrot? This little carrot had quite a number of roots. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Could it be a human ginseng that had turned into a spirit? When the little carrot saw Ning Shu, it immediately stopped and ran in another direction. Not long later, a Taoist wearing a Taoist robe appeared. When he saw Ning Shu and a beautiful woman in the deep mountain forest, he immediately glared at him. "You demon, hurry up and reveal your true form." The corner of Ning Shu's mouth twitched. "Reveal your sister." Ning Shu chuckled. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Ning Shu had already dealt with Li Hui, but now she had met the one who had sent her. She had to destroy the cultivation base of the person who had sent her and extract his soul to make an artifact. This Taoist looked rather sage-like. However, Ning Shu noticed that there was a black aura on his body. This aura should be entangled with karma or slaughter, which meant that there were definitely quite a number of wild beasts that had died in the hands of this Taoist. After all, demons weren't like immortals. They were born in the orthodox ways. Once a demon appeared, they had to be subdued. The Taoist ignored Ning Shu. Even if he was a demon, he still had to wait for him to collect the ginseng. Thus, the Taoist chased in the direction where the ginseng escaped. There was a red string in his hand, guiding the Taoist towards the direction where the ginseng escaped to. Ning Shu also followed the Taoist. When he saw the Taoist tighten his grip on the red string in his hand, the parkour carrot who was running in front stopped in its tracks and tried to escape with all its might. However, it was tied up by the red string. The little carrot was so anxious that it was about to cry. In the end, it was still caught by the Taoist. Ning Shu immediately stood in front of the Taoist and said, "Everyone who saw it has a share. This ginseng will be split in half." Ning Shu's words scared the crying carrot to the point that it choked and kept burping. The Taoist coldly looked at Ning Shu. "I originally didn't want to bicker with you, but you actually want to snatch something from me. Evil creature, surrender yourself." Ning Shu flicked his finger and countless peach blossom petals flew towards the Taoist like sharp weapons. The Taoist coldly snorted and dodged the petals that filled the sky. However, the Taoist's robe was cut by the petals. The Taoist looked at his own robe with a serious expression. What kind of demon was this? Peach blossom demon? Ning Shu raised his head and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. She did not warn the Taoist when she attacked, which meant that the Taoist's level was the same as hers. This Taoist had been killing monsters in the mountains all year round. Even if he was killed by a demon, it would be normal. Those who kill will be killed by others. Ning Shu knew that if he killed people, there might be a day where he would die in the hands of others. If he did not want to die, he could only work hard to increase his own strength. Sensing this, Ning Shu was completely at ease. Perhaps he would be able to settle this grudge. Ning Shu cracked open his mouth and laughed. Ning Shu directly said, "Hand the ginseng over to me." The Taoist coldly laughed and directly placed the little carrot into his bag. Ning Shu flicked his finger, and the densely packed petals that filled the sky flew towards the Taoist. The fluttering petals looked extremely romantic and beautiful, but every single petal was filled with killing intent. The Taoist held onto his horsetail whisk and waved away the petals. Ning Shu walked over and directly snatched the Taoist's bag. When he opened it, the little carrot jumped out and ran away without a trace. Furthermore, there were quite a few things in the bag, for example, snake gallbladder, bear gallbladder, and even glossy fur. He reckoned that the Taoist had killed quite a number of old monsters in the mountains. On the other hand, when he saw the ginseng that he had been chasing for a long time running away, he was so angry that his eyes turned red. He immediately chanted the Taoist's exorcism talisman, and took out the talisman and sent it towards Ning Shu. Chapter 2097. These talismans were really simple for Ning Shu. But as a monster, he was afraid of these Taoist and Buddhist things. Ning Shu reached out with vines. The talismans hit the vines, causing them to give off smoke. Ning Shu extended even more vines and wrapped the Taoist priest, tying him up like a dumpling. The Taoist priest struggled with all his might but was unable to break free from the vines. His face flushed red as he shouted sternly, "Demon, let go of me." Ning Shu chuckled and tightened her grip around the Taoist priest. The Taoist priest felt like he was about to suffocate. Amitabha! Huiji appeared out of nowhere. Ning Shu couldn't help but roll his eyes. When the priest saw Huiji, his eyes lit up. If it was a normal monster, he would definitely be able to deal with it. But this monster was a little strong. The vines were too tough to deal with and he had no way to fight back at all. "Master Huiji, please help me. This monster is really arrogant." The priest shouted right away. Ning Shu said straightforwardly, "Old man, go away. Don't forget that Huiji was injured by this priest and passed away." Now, this priest was actually asking Huiji for help. Huiji said Amitabha and said to Ning Shu, "Why do you want to kill him?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "Why not? This person is a priest, you can't turn him into a monk." "Don't kill." Huiji said. Ning Shu said, "I have a reason for killing him. This priest killed many monsters in the mountains. If they were monsters that did evil, then so be it. But the monsters in the forests didn't go out to do evil, so he came to kill them too." Ning Shu couldn't say that he killed the two of them, so he found an excuse. When the priest heard the conversation between Ning Shu and Huiji, he nearly couldn't breathe. The two of them knew each other. Ning Shu was curious about where Huiji came from. He couldn't help but ask, "Master, have you been following me?" Huiji said, "I was looking for you but you weren't in the temple." He knew that he was out. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Huiji, to think that you are an enlightened monk. You actually colluded with a monster. If news of this spreads out, how can you be called a living Buddha? The priest struggled, but he couldn't break free from the vines. The problem was that the monk and the monster were on the same side. He might be killed. Bodhi, let him go. Huiji said. Ning Shu shook his head. Master, you said that you have compassion for the world. Even if there are monsters in the mountains, there are innocent people. Even Buddhas have angry eyes. The Vajra warriors have angry eyes to subdue evil people, while the Bodhisattva has kind eyes to attract good people. Both of them are for the convenience of saving people. Why can't I kill evil people? Huiji smiled. His long snow-white eyebrows and beard made him look kind. He said to the priest, who was tied up like a dumpling, Benefactor, don't worry. I will definitely send the benefactor off. The priest was speechless. Ning Shu was speechless. Not only did he kill you, he even promised to send you off. He really had the characteristics of Buddhism. The Taoist priest's expression was ferocious as he directly took out his magic weapon and attacked Huiji. This person was simply too hateful. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Scum who colludes with demons." Monsters were low-level creatures. This old monk was crazy and wanted to kill him with a monster. Didn't he know that humans were afraid of monsters and the power of monsters? If people knew that the living Buddha of the Wu temple took in a monster as a disciple, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. The Wu temple might even cease to exist. The horsetail whisk attacked Huiji. Huiji removed the prayer beads on his wrist and threw them at the horsetail whisk to block it. Huiji chanted scriptures. Ning Shu used the sharp vines to pierce the priest's heart and body. The priest's shrill voice suddenly stopped and the horsetail whisk fell to the ground. Huiji stared at Ning Shu. Clearly, he didn't expect Ning Shu to really kill him. In the end, he chanted Amitabha and sat down cross-legged. He really started to send the priest off. Ning Shu made sure that the priest was dead and his heart had turned into minced meat. He took back the vines and washed the bloodstains on them with water. Then he took back the vines. The mountain forest was filled with the sound of Sanskrit, which calmed people's hearts. Ning Shu saw the priest's soul enter a black hole. He didn't expect that Huiji could really send people off. However, he shouldn't be able to see the black hole that led to the world of samsara. Not long after, Huiji stopped chanting. When he stood up, he swayed. Perhaps his legs were numb. He was old after all. Huiji looked at Ning Shu sternly. Don't kill people like this in the future. Master, I met him on a narrow path. If I resisted, I would definitely be killed. Although I don't have snake gall or bear gall, I have peach blossom tears. Ning Shu said. Peach blossom tears were known as peach gum. It was naturally secreted by peach trees, or caused by external forces to cause wounds. Secreting peach gum was beneficial for wounds to heal. Peach gum could reduce wrinkles, rejuvenate the skin, treat acne and dark pits. It had the effect of nourishing one's complexion and skin care. It could stimulate saliva and quench thirst. It could also relieve the pain caused by postpartum dysentery. Especially a peach blossom demon that had turned into a spirit. This kind of thing was the dream of those nobles. Furthermore, peachwood itself was an item that could ward off evil spirits. Peachwood swords and the like had a certain damage value to demons and ghosts. She would be chopped into a sword. I'm not saying that you should kill people. It's just that you should have some reverence for life. Huiji the old monk said. From the corner of his eyes, he saw a sneaky radish. The radish that ran away now ran back. Ning Shu hooked his finger at the little radish that was running cool. The little radish bashfully walked in front of Ning Shu and thanked Ning Shu. Then, it endured the pain and pulled out a root from its body as a thank you gift. Ning Shu said indifferently, "Your life is only worth a root?" Instead, it was the little radish that still chose the smallest root to pull out. The little radish's body stiffened. Then, it slowly found a large root and prepared to pull it out. Its eyes were brimming with tears, and it looked extremely pitiful. Ning Shu the old monk Huiji asked, "Master, do you want one to replenish your vitality?" Huiji's face congealed. No need. Life and death are predestined. Don't be like this. Everyone had their own consciousness and thoughts. That was life. Even if it was a root, that was a body. It was a body of flesh and blood. Ning Shu gave a thumbs up. Master's awareness is indeed high. Then he said to the little radish, "All right, stop pulling. It hasn't been pulled out even after a long time." The little radish immediately stopped pulling. Ning Shu said with a smile, "Thank you for saving me." "It's all right, it's just on the way." Ning Shu wanted to dig a hole to bury the Taoist priest's corpse. Furthermore, he wanted to bury it a little further away. If it was too close to the Wuyu temple, it might be related to the Wuyu temple. Chapter 2098. Maybe the old monk could handle it, but it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Ning Shu said to Huiji, "Master, I'll find a place to bury him." Huiji said indifferently, "Since he was killed by a mountain spirit, why would he know how to bury him? Drag him to a place where there are many wild beasts." Ning Shu looked at Huiji in surprise. Huiji said, "The body is just a stinky skin, it's just a look." Ning Shu did not refute. He asked the little radish where there were many wild wolves, then he dragged the Taoist priest's corpse to the place where the wild wolves gathered. The Taoist priest's corpse would definitely be torn apart by the wild beasts. When he returned to his original spot, Huiji was chanting scriptures with his prayer beads. Ning Shu walked over. Huiji looked at Ning Shu with a sharp gaze. Ning Shu said, "Master, you pity all living beings. Those spirits living in the deep mountains and forests are also living beings. Do you think that I'm wrong?" The most important thing for her was the mission. If she did not get rid of the Taoist priest, she would definitely be unlucky if she met another Taoist priest in the future. At that time, the old monk would also be implicated. The Taoist priest would kill any demon he met. If he met Tao Yao, he would not be kind enough to let Tao Yao go. Therefore, killing him was the best choice. "You're not wrong, it's just that your temper is too sharp." Huiji said. Ning Shu said, "I'm going to kill him anyway. Do I have to be forced to do so? If you have the ability, why don't you do it?" For example, when dealing with Li Hui, Ning Shu could not do it directly. What could he do? He could only take a roundabout way. But when dealing with the Taoist priest, there were no restrictions at all. Whatever method was useful, he would use it. Huiji said, "Go back and copy the scriptures." Ning Shu nodded and did not refute. The little radish followed beside Ning Shu, the two leaves on its head swaying. Ning Shu said directly, "Why are you following me? Do you believe that I won't eat you in one bite? You're very nutritious, eating you will prolong my life." The little radish immediately burrowed into the ground and disappeared. Ning Shu followed Huiji back to Wuyo Temple. Huiji gave Ning Shu a bundle of scriptures and said, "Copy these scriptures." Ning Shu said directly, "I can't read." "Just copy what's written on it. There's no need to recognize it." Huiji said, "You shouldn't kill unless it's the right time. You shouldn't take someone's life unless you have no other choice." Ning Shu replied with an "oh," and said, "Disciple understands." Then he carried the stacks of scriptures and went to copy them. Back in his own meditation room, Ning Shu began to grind the ink stick. He took a piece of white paper and started to copy the book. Now, not only did Ning Shu have to copy the book, he also had to do homework like the other monks. After that, he also had to listen to Huiji's teachings. Huiji did not say that Ning Shu could not kill, but he said that he should respect life before killing. He should not harm life until the very last moment. Although Ning Shu felt that Huiji was right, but sometimes, if he did not eliminate the source of trouble, there would be no end of trouble. If Tao Yao met that Taoist after she left, would Tao Yao be able to kill that Taoist? After all, Tao Yao grew up under the Buddha's light. He would not kill easily. He would be compassionate and would be killed by that Taoist. That Taoist's life was a life, but were other people's lives not a life? Ning Shu seemed to be listening to Huiji's teachings on the surface, but his way of doing things might not be able to change. When Huiji encountered something, his reaction would be, "Sigh, he can still be saved." When Ning Shu encountered something, his reaction would be, if he should save someone, he should save someone. If he should cremate someone, he should cremate someone. There was a time limit for her mission. The longer she dragged it out, the later the person who entrusted her would return. Where would he have so much time to blabber on and on? Let the real Tao Yao come back and play with you. Perhaps Tao Yao was Huiji's qualified Buddhist disciple. He was compassionate, had a kind heart, and was also very perceptive. After experiencing the tribulation of love, he might reach a new height. But Ning Shu might not be. Even if Ning Shu became a Buddhist disciple, he should be an angry Vajra and do the work of killing. After Ning Shu left the meditation room, Huiji let out a sigh. Huiji, sigh. When Ning Shu returned to her meditation room, she saw that little Radish was in her room and was thanking Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Since you want to thank me, then help me copy the scriptures." Little Radish looked at the scriptures on the table and immediately shook his head. He didn't know how to do it. Don't appear here, there are a lot of pilgrims in the temple. If someone sees you, you will be in trouble. The greed of humans was endless. If they saw the legendary ginseng spirit, they would go crazy. There was also a legend that if one ate a mouthful of the ginseng spirit, they would be able to ascend to immortality and live forever. Ning Shu had never thought of using the ginseng to repay her. She had a grudge with the Taoist in the first place. If people knew that there was a ginseng in the Wuyu temple, and it was a ginseng that could run, there would probably be people who would flip the entire Wuyu temple over. At this time, even if the temple worshipped the gods, it would be useless. No one had seen the Buddha or Bodhisattva before, but the ginseng was real. When Little Radish heard that, he was instantly frightened, and hurriedly burrowed into the ground and ran away. Ning Shu finished copying the scriptures with difficulty, and placed it in front of old monk Huiji, and said, "Master, I have finished copying the scriptures, I want to go out." Old monk Huiji checked the contents that Ning Shu had copied, and asked without even raising his eyes, "Where are you going?" "Of course I am going out to see the ways of the world. I am going out to walk around, comprehend the Dharma, and purify evil people." Ning Shu said. He just wanted to go out and see if there was any world source. Furthermore, he could also do some good things when he went out. She was not a murderous maniac. Why did she have to kill those people who were not related to her? Why did she have to get involved with those people who were not related to the mission at all? Looking at old monk Huiji's melancholy face, Ning Shu felt that he might not be able to go out for the time being. He kept feeling that old monk Huiji was looking at him as if he was looking at a dangerous person, as if he was looking at a bomb. Was he really that unreliable? You still need to study the Buddhist Dharma for a period of time. Don't go out so often, you are tainted with evil energy and the mortal world. Huiji said, "You run outside every day, your heart is wild." Ning Shu was speechless. "Master, is your body okay? If you can't, I will carry you out to climb mountains, cross oceans, and eat delicacies. How far have you walked in this life?" Ning Shu said, "I have been to many places. I have climbed mountains, crossed oceans, walked through deserts, and eaten delicacies. As a monk, I don't have a strong appetite." Huiji said calmly. Ning Shu gave a thumbs up. "Look, Master has been to so many places, but I haven't been to any of them. I can't die in peace. What you need to do now is to cultivate your mind and calm your heart. Don't you feel anything after killing someone?" Huiji asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu took a deep breath and said, "I killed him, so no other mountain spirits will die in his hands." Chapter 2099. Let's not talk about others first. Let's not talk about the mountain spirits dying in his hands. Let's talk about how you took a life with a clear conscience. Don't you have any feelings in your heart? Huiji asked. Ning Shu pursed her lips tightly and didn't say anything. You really treat life as child's play. You don't feel anything after killing a person. You don't have any fear or guilt. You do what you have to do. What are you thinking? Huiji was a little puzzled. How could the peach blossom demon, who had been in the Wuyo temple, have such a personality? Ning Shu asked in return, if someone were to kill you, what would you do? Could it be that other people's lives are precious, but my life isn't? Ning Shu didn't expect Huiji to interrogate her soul. What she did was for herself and for the person who entrusted her. Master, this is a false proposition. You told me that all lives are precious, but what about mine? Ning Shu asked in return. Master, if I tell you that I'm very sad, very afraid, very vexed, and very guilty, will you not ask me these questions? The main reason was that she was too calm after killing someone, so it made Huiji's master unhappy. We should be in awe of the passing of a life, but Ning Shu knew that everyone had a chance to start over. Only she and the thousands of mission takers did not. They repaired the holes in the plane, calmed the corrosion and damage caused by resentment to the heavenly Tao, and even the damage caused by people with too much providence to the plane. They didn't have a chance to start over. They could only charge forward with all their might. Yes, you are too indifferent to life, Huiji said. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, Master, what do you think I should do? Recite the Rebirth Sutra to the deceased? Huiji was speechless. Don't hurt others easily, and don't let others hurt you easily. Huiji said helplessly, don't go out for the time being. Cultivate your mind and get rid of the evil aura in your body. It will devour you sooner or later. Seeing Huiji's serious expression, Ning Shu quieted down and quietly struck the bell like a monk. He didn't know when he would be able to leave and find the source of the world. All he lacked was a water element source. He reckoned that there really was a ruthless aura in his body. It was better to get rid of it. Who knew when he would go berserk? When the old monk Huiji was preaching, Ning Shu was also listening attentively. After a while, Ning Shu's heart really calmed down. His heart had no desires and was very calm. Ning Shu still said to Huiji, Master, do you think I can go out now? Huiji was speechless. Why do you want to run outside every day? It was worrying. Go. Huiji waved his hand. Ning Shu stretched out his fair and tender hand. Huiji didn't say anything. Ning Shu said, Master, give me an alms bowl. If he didn't give it to him, how was he going to beg for food? No, beg for alms. Huiji took out an alms bowl and gave it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu turned the alms bowl over and over. Is it new or the one from last time? The one from last time, Huiji said. Ning Shu was surprised. Master, you're actually keeping my alms bowl? What kind of fetish was this? Huiji opened the cabinet. There were many alms bowls inside. They were all from the temple and there were words engraved at the bottom of the bowls. Ning Shu was speechless. It was probably because when a monk from the temple went down the mountain, he would report to Huiji and then be given an alms bowl. This alms bowl recorded the entire journey of a monk when he went down the mountain, Huiji said. So awesome. Video camera? Ning Shu looked at his alms bowl over and over again. Was there something special on it? Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to think about it. He said goodbye to Huiji and went down the mountain. When he went down the mountain, he turned into an old monk and passed by Li Hui's house. Li Hui's situation was worse than he had imagined. He was controlled by his wife. Even if he wanted to eat, he had to get the landlord's daughter's permission. If not, there wouldn't be anything good to eat. Li Hui had wanted to show his authority, but under the landlord's daughter's control, Li Hui couldn't resist at all. He lived like a dog. If he wanted to eat something good, he had to ask for it from the landlord's daughter. At night, he even had to suffer the landlord's daughters. Ning Shu saw that the landlord's daughter was even fatter than before. Her face was rosy. It seemed like she was living a very comfortable life. In this era, it was impossible for a woman not to get married. The landlord's daughter chose Li Hui and controlled him. Which woman was so comfortable? She didn't have to do anything. Who asked her to have so much dowry? This made Li Hui helpless. Who asked her to have so much dowry? It wasn't that the landlord's daughter didn't let Li Hui continue to take the exam. The premise was that she had to follow him. Otherwise, if Li Hui went out, he would be seduced by some vixen. There were many stories in which scholars who crossed mountains and valleys met beautiful women or demons in rundown temples and inns. The landlord's daughter clearly knew where her disadvantage was, so she could only tightly control Li Hui in her hands. When Li Hui heard that this fat woman wanted to go to the capital with him for the exam, his face turned green. He never talked about going to the capital for the exam again. He never talked about going to the capital for the exam again. Moreover, the exam was a very difficult thing. Li Hui's mind was already very vague about the knowledge. He couldn't pass the exam at all. Anyway, life was like this. Moreover, the landlord's daughter was a little disdainful that Li Hui didn't know how to do anything. Of course, she also didn't know how to do anything. But who asked her to have so much dowry? Li Hui could only rely on the landlord's daughter now because his brother and sister-in-law had already separated. It was Li Hui's sister-in-law who cried and made a fuss about separating. Anyway, Li Hui was already married and could separate. In addition, his sister-in-law was pregnant and used this as a threat. In the end, they had no choice but to separate. His sister-in-law really didn't like Li Hui, especially now that the landlord's daughter didn't do anything. She had to serve another person. Moreover, she was pregnant. After so many years, she finally got pregnant and still had to serve another person. It was simply killing her and she couldn't live anymore. When they separated, Li Hui was only given one house, which made the landlord's daughter feel very uncomfortable. Then, she moved back to her mother's house and even dragged her husband back to her mother's house. So in a sense, Li Hui married into her family. Ning Shu just smiled and then went around begging for alms. He walked around and searched for the source of the world. He went to many places and he even went to places with ghosts or strange scenes. Since there was the source of the world, then there was definitely something strange. Ning Shu went to many places but he didn't find the source of the world. Instead, he carried some silver back to the Wuyu temple. Huiji looked at the silver and was a little speechless. How did you do it? Based on what Master said, to purify the world. Sometimes, when I see ghosts with heavy grievances, I will purify them. But people forced me to give money. I said that it was the blessing of Buddha, but they forced it on me. They said that it was money for incense. Chapter 2100. Huiji felt that his disciple was really lucky with money. If one day the temple was really full, he would let this disciple go out and beg for alms. After a trip, he would have money. Ning Shu didn't care about money. What he wanted was the source of the world. A world origin was a plane's evolution process. In addition to the world origin it needed, it would also evolve an additional world origin. It could only be said that the worlds that Ning Shu came from did not evolve an additional world origin. Even if he really found the source of the world, it might not be the water element source that he needed. Huiji saw Ning Shu's sad face and asked, "What did you meet outside?" "Don't worry about me. Let me cry for a month and I will be fine," Ning Shu said casually. This was the side effect of not finding the source of the world. He would be fine after a while. Huiji was speechless. "Then go back to your room and cry. Leave some silver with you." Huiji kept some silver. He probably saw that Ning Shu was too disappointed and gave Ning Shu some silver. Ning Shu looked at the fingernail-sized silver and was speechless. It couldn't comfort her at all. She brought back so much silver and he gave her the smallest one. Why was Huiji so greedy? Monks couldn't be greedy. Ning Shu said, "Master, you have broken the precepts. You are greedy." "What?" Huiji asked. "Monks should treat money like dirt. Even their bodies are stinky. So why would they care about gold and silver?" Ning Shu said, "You are narrow-minded. Money has its uses, so why do you treat it like dirt?" The old monk said, "Every month, Wuyo Temple gives out porridge 3 times. This money is enough to buy some food." So that was the case. It's better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish. Even if they didn't give out the porridge frequently, some lazy people would still mix in. Wuyu Temple only gives out porridge to orphans or refugees. Did the food from Wuyu Temple fall from the sky? Of course, it was for those who truly needed it. So there are rules in the temple. Ning Shu sighed. He didn't take the money Huiji gave him and said, "Use this to buy 2 more caddies of food." She didn't need money at all. Ning Shu felt that he had transcended to another realm. He didn't care much about money. Huiji didn't stand on ceremony. He directly took Ning Shu's silver and placed it in the cabinet. Ning Shu said, "Master, with your fame, if you go out to catch ghosts, chant scriptures, and do religious ceremonies, you will definitely make a lot of money. Sometimes things aren't that simple. The royal family often comes here." Huiji said, with his status, he couldn't casually go out to catch ghosts, chant scriptures, or perform religious ceremonies. If it was when he was young, it would be fine. But now, Huiji felt that his body wasn't very good. He might pass away at any time. Ning Shu nodded. Huiji walked the high-end route and served the royal family. If he went out to do religious ceremonies and chant scriptures every day, wouldn't that be lowering his status? What would the emperor think? What would the royal family think? What would the nobles think? In the mortal world, there were things that had to be done. They had to abide by the rules and live better under the rules. They could better seek benefits for themselves and the world. Ning Shu gave a thumbs up and said to Huiji, "Master is really a Buddha." Huiji played with the Buddha beads. He didn't have any expression at Ning Shu's praise. He said, "Go back and wash up well to get rid of the aura of the mortal world. Also, the world likes beautiful skin. Your appearance is beautiful. There will be nobles from the royal family here. Your appearance will attract some people's attention. Turn into a monk," Huiji said. Ning Shu, turn into a monk? I just like this beautiful skin. I'm a vulgar person. I like beautiful skin. This skin will attract bees and butterflies, Huiji said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "Hey, master, from what you said, I feel that you seem to be very experienced." Ning Shu had seen Huiji when he was young. He had a round head because of his delicate appearance. Wasn't Huiji once held hostage by a man who liked young children? She was the one who saved him. After growing up, Huiji should also be a peerless monk. Wasn't there a love story between a princess and a monk? Could it be that Huiji had been through the blue sea and couldn't be water? When Huiji saw Ning Shu's imaginative expression, his eyebrows immediately twitched. He said calmly, "When I was young, there were some young ladies and madams who liked to talk to me about scriptures." Ning Shu exclaimed and said, "Not only young ladies and madams, but also men, right?" In ancient times, being a homosexual was a trend. It was normal for nobles and scholars to have male companions. Even though monk Huiji was old, he was still very handsome and had a special temperament. When he was young, he must have been an ascetic, religious, and peerless monk. It must have made those men who pursued fashion drool. She didn't know if Huiji had suffered before. Huiji was speechless. This child was so worrisome. She wasn't even as interested as listening to these things when learning Buddhist scriptures. Especially when she was sizing him up, her eyes were green and he didn't know what she was thinking. "Transform into a monk," Huiji said. "After a period of time, there will be nobles coming from the palace. If you don't want to go to the palace, then obediently transform into a monk." Alright, this was something that couldn't be helped. The feudal emperor was the boss. He couldn't possibly leave the tiger's den and enter the wolf's mouth. Ning Shu transformed into an old monk. He bowed towards Huiji and said, "Master, what do you think of my current appearance?" Huiji nodded and then said, "From now on, you will be a monk in Wio Temple." Ning Shu returned to his meditation room and saw a little radish sleeping on his bed. Ning Shu walked over and pulled its roots. The little radish instantly woke up from the pain. Seeing an old monk and not a beautiful woman, it instantly jumped to the foot of the bed. Why did you enter my wife's room?" Ning Shu was speechless. What the hell? It was still wearing a doo-doo and it wanted to find a woman. Was it trying to repay the debt of saving its life with its body? "I'm going to stew you," Ning Shu said expressionlessly. The little radish went in front of Ning Shu and sniffed. "There is a peach blossom fragrance on your body. How did you become like this? Old and ugly." Ning Shu carried it to the side, then sat on the bed and rubbed his thighs. He had walked quite a bit in this period of time. His thighs had turned into radish legs. Chapter 2101. The little radish sat beside Ning Shu, using its hand to support its chin. It looked at Ning Shu and said, "You better turn back, you are really too ugly like this." See, even a little monster knows how to be beautiful and ugly, even monsters like beautiful ones. Ning Shu said indifferently, "Didn't I tell you not to come here?" After a period of time, people from the palace will come. If they see a ginseng that has turned into a spirit like you, they will definitely tear you apart. The little radish said with a frightened face, "Why do you keep grabbing onto me and not letting me go? Then why do you want to become a ginseng, and a ginseng that has turned into a spirit at that? If you eat it, you will become immortal." The little radish curled its lips and said, "There's no such thing, it's just that ginseng replenishes energy. If you eat it recklessly, you will lose your life. Who cares, as long as it's something good, it's fine. Who doesn't know that ginseng is a good thing? It can be used to make soup to nourish." Ning Shu casually said. The roots on the little radish's body began to tremble, and said to Ning Shu, "What are you doing here? You are not a human. Don't tell me you want to become a monk. Follow me to the mountains are very comfortable. My Buddha nature is good, I was born for Buddha. If I don't become a monk, who will?" The little radish curled its lips. "If people know that you are a monster, no one will come to this temple to worship you. Humans and monsters are different. My mother said, there is a boundary between monsters and humans. I have never dared to enter the territory of humans. If you go out like this, you will definitely be turned into soup." Ning Shu said, "Even if you are in the mountains, aren't there Taoist priests chasing after you? Why don't you become my wife and follow me to the mountains? There is a bit of spiritual energy in the mountains. It is good for your cultivation as well. You are a peach blossom, I am a ginseng, we are a match made in heaven." The little radish said, "Ning Shu, radish and ginseng, what will be born? There will be reproductive isolation, child. What's wrong with that? Wait until I transform, our child will definitely be of the plant type." The little radish said, "Ning Shu, all right, hurry up and leave. Don't appear in front of others," Ning Shu said directly. He lay down on the bed and prepared to rest for a while. After going to so many places, even if she was a monster, she would still feel very tired. The little radish glanced at the sleeping Ning Shu and asked, "Do you want me to pluck one for you to nourish your body?" With his back facing the little radish, Ning Shu waved his hand. "No need. I like how you're not greedy like this," Little Radish said happily. "Ning Shu, try putting a world's origin in front of me." The little radish said that it would come to find him at night, and then left. Ning Shu slept until it was time for dinner. The old monk, Huiji, came to knock on the door. Worrisome, so mischievous. Learning Buddhism was not like slacking off for 3 days and drying the net for 2 days. After eating dinner, Ning Shu expressed that he wanted to return to the meditation room to study Buddhism. The moment he returned to the room, as expected, he saw Little Radish rolling around on his bed. "Why are you here again?" Ning Shu frowned. Don't think that this little radish was small, it had already become a spirit. Although the ginseng looked like a little radish, it had already existed for God knows how many years. After all, it already had its own thoughts and the ability to speak. "Are you really not going to return to the mountain with me? I'll bring you to see my mother." The little radish said, "You saved me, my mother will definitely be very, very grateful to you." Ning Shu rolled his eyes, grabbed the little ginseng, and ran to the old monk, Huiji's meditation room. He said, "Master, how much can this ginseng be sold for?" Seeing the little radish struggling in Ning Shu's hands, Huiji chanted Amitabha and said, "It's a priceless treasure in the first place. It's not easy for it to form its own consciousness. Let it go back to the mountain." "Master, you're really a good person," the little radish said with tears in his eyes. "Wuyu Temple isn't so poor that we have to sell ginseng. Let it go, it will bring trouble to Wuyu Temple if it stays here." Old monk Huiji was worried that Ning Shu would think that the temple was short of money and was prepared to sell this ginseng. They weren't so poor that they had to sell people. The little radish was frightened. Originally, he wanted to bring his wife back to the mountain, but in the end, his wife wanted to sell him. So scary, she ran away immediately. With such thick skin and guts, he still wants a wife. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Do you plan to stay in Wuyu Temple, or go back to the mountain? I've thought about it. It's indeed not very convenient for you to stay in the temple. Why don't you stay in the peach garden, transform into your original form, and cultivate every day? Old monk Huiji felt that he was really worried sick. I'll think about it again. Her mission was completed. She was going to leave this world. As for what kind of life the person who entrusted her with the mission wanted, she had no right to interfere, nor did she want to interfere. Looking at the old monk whose beard and eyebrows were all white, she sat down and said, Master, please take care of your body, and strive to live another 150 years. I won't be able to live that long. Life and death are decreed by fate, riches and honor are determined by the heavens. Let's just follow the will of the heavens. The old monk said calmly. Ning Shu made an "oh" sound, and the atmosphere became quiet. To be able to meet the little monk twice was not often. After pondering for a moment, he asked, Master, were you handsome when you were young? Ning Shu originally wanted to ask his master directly, when you were young, have you ever been pounced on by wild bees and butterflies? Barely. Old monk Huiji's eyebrows twitched as he said, Then master, I'll be leaving. Take care to rest. Staying up late will cause sudden death. Don't stay up late. Ning Shu said. Huiji. Go and rest. Huiji said. After thinking for a while, he took the Buddha beads in his hand and gave them to Ning Shu. Keep this with you. Ning Shu looked at the Buddha. Back then, Huiji had already given him a string of Buddha beads. There was a faint sound of Sanskrit on the Buddha beads that could not be invaded by gods and ghosts. Now, he gave him a string of Buddha beads. These things were all worn by Huiji, so they must have a great effect. The greatest effect was that they could calm one's heart and could ward off evil. Ning Shu refused and said, You don't have to give them to me. Master's things are all good. Leave them for the temple in the future. Then forget it. Huiji put the Buddha beads back on his wrist and said, Go and rest. Ning Shu nodded and walked to the door. He looked back at the old monk. He probably wouldn't see the old monk again in the future. Ning Shu smiled and said to the old monk, Master might have become a Buddha. They wouldn't have a chance to meet again. Huiji smiled and looked really kind. Ning Shu waved his hand, Go and rest. When Ning Shu left, he closed the door for the old monk. He returned to his room and laid on the bed. 2333's voice rang out in his mind. Quest completed. Do you want to leave the quest world? Ning Shu thought about it and felt like he should leave. Unfortunately, he didn't find the source of the world. He nodded and said, Let's leave. Ning Shu's mind went dizzy and he appeared in the system space. Chapter 2102. When he returned to the system space, Ning Shu felt that his system space was really full. There was no place for him to stand. There was a coffee table, a bookshelf, a sofa, a fish tank, and a spirit spring pool. The space was small. It used to be empty, but now it felt very crowded. Seeing that, he felt uncomfortable and said to 2333, Can you expand the system space a little? I don't feel comfortable looking at it. It was too crowded. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and sighed comfortably. He took out a black flower and sniffed it. There was a warm feeling in his heart. There was a feeling of happiness. This bouquet of black flowers was given by His Excellency. He didn't know where these flowers grew. When would he grow some of these flowers to cultivate his mind and make himself happy? Can it be expanded? Ning Shu asked 2333. He felt that there were too many things in the system space, and it was too cramped. It can be expanded, but it needs energy. 2333 said. It needs your energy. Ning Shu saw 2333's hesitation and understood. That's right. 2333 said, My energy is enough to maintain the entire system space, but if you expand the system space, it might not be enough. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu expressed his doubts about the lack of energy in the system space, but it didn't matter if he didn't expand it. He said directly, Then there's no need to expand it. There were some things that Ning Shu didn't want to be too clear about. It was quite warm to look cramped like this. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and began to absorb the soul power this time. Although Tao Yao gave up all her soul power, her soul had been used up a lot. There shouldn't be much soul power left. Ning Shu absorbed for a while and then there was nothing left. There really wasn't much soul power left. Ning Shu raised his hand and stretched. He opened his attribute panel to see what he had gained this time. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Points card, 199, 10 million points for 1 point card, soul value, 13 health value, 12 wisdom, 14 luck, 15 charm, 9 spirit, 12 force, 14 aptitude, 14 faith, 2695980 merit, 1345161 soul strength, 71 authorization ticket, none pure heart, none law comprehended, water elemental law incarnation. Construct a world. I suspect it is the world of samsara. Items: calming halo, calming pill, faith halo, amulet 4, upgraded amulet +2. Honorary titles: goddess of war, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis. Aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chinshi's blessing, leader aura, grass blessing, lifelong best friend, Meow Meow Meow's blessing. Healer of the dying, Zhu Su Nyang's blessing, founding woman, Chen Ermiai's blessing, beauty-in-law, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, communication between races, Bai San Yang's blessing, heart of the brave, Wang Ying's blessing, complete Tao Yao's wish, escape fate. Mission completion rate, 100%. Mission reward, 12 merit cards, 10 attribute points, 80% soul power, 5,000 faith power, including previous world's accumulation, 150 merit points, and an additional 500,000 merit points. Although there was 80% soul power, Tao Yao did not contribute much soul power, so this 80% soul power was not much. 150 merit points, Ning Shu felt that it was only enough for him to eat a snack. He had done a lot of good things, but he only had this little amount of merit points. If she did not have taxes, she would probably cry from accumulating merit points and faith power. Ning Shu added the attribute points. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27 level, Super Mission Taker merit cards, 199 plus 12, 10 million for 1 merit card. Soul power, 13 plus 1 health points, 12 plus 1 wisdom, 14 plus 1 luck, 15 plus 1 charm, 9 plus 1 spiritual power, 12 plus 1 martial power, 14 plus 2 aptitude, 14 plus 2 faith power, 2695980 plus 5,000 merit points, 845,161 plus 150 soul power, 71 authorization ticket, none pure heart, none law comprehended, water law, incarnation of water law. Constructed world, suspected to be the world of reincarnation. Items: calm halo, tranquil pill, faith halo, amulet 4, upgraded amulet +2. Honorary titles: goddess of war, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis halo, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chin Shi's blessing, leader halo, grass's blessing, best friend for life, Meow Meow Meow's blessing, life-saving hand, Zhu Su's blessing, founding lady, Chen Ermiai's blessing, lawful lady, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, Bai San Yang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing. After adding the attribute points, Ning Shu asked Mei Ziqing's system about the incubation of the light and darkness attributes as usual. Mei Ziqing's system told Ning Shu that there were no changes. Ning Shu was speechless. He didn't know when they would be able to hatch. He hoped that when he found the world source of the water attribute, the light and darkness attributes would be able to hatch. Ning Shu wanted to throw the light and darkness attributes directly into the world source of martial arts, but they didn't hatch successfully. Ning Shu was afraid that if he threw them in, something abnormal would happen in his world. What if it turned out to be a deformed world? Haste makes waste. Let's wait slowly. There's plenty of time anyway. Ning Shu decided to patrol the City of Water and strengthen the enchantment at the same time. Then, he would go to the auction house to see if there was any world source. When he thought of the auction house, he thought of Si Tian. When he thought of Si Tian, he thought of how Si Tian had cheated him of 500,000 merit points. When he thought of the 500,000 merit points, he thought of the fish tank of the law of nothingness in the corner. Ning Shu walked over and flicked the fish tank with his finger. In the end, he sighed. He didn't have the courage to jump in. If he did, he would most likely die. Irritating. Ning Shu was too lazy to think about it. He might as well not know about it. If he knew, he wouldn't be so conflicted about jumping in to commit suicide. When Ning Shu arrived at the City of Water, he first strengthened the enchantment. Then, he went to Shu Bai's restaurant and ordered some food. After eating slowly, he headed to the auction house. Si Tian's auction house was doing well. Those who could do business had connections and connections. Ning Shu felt that even if he started a business in the City of Water, he might not be able to do it. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.